Let's do it, baby.
I don't have the strength to do it. I'll watch
Best
you do
of.
it.
Best of. Gonna lean on Rich today. Come on, Rich. It's up to you, man.
What do they call that? Hot wife? I'll just watch you do it. You do it. I'll just sit here.
All right, 30 seconds. Everybody's off.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media, Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. A whopper of a Wednesday edition, Dom. It's debatey party eve up in here.
Happy hump day, Crute debate eve. Certainly exciting. Lots going on today. Thank you to our fair audience, 844-967-2789. Rich hitting all the buttons on the board. Thank you, sir, as well.
Dominic, new Marquette University Law School poll. You know how excited I get about these snapshots in history.
Nerd.
Here's the top line. It's very, very close.
Oh, shocking. It's close. It's going to be close.
Between Biden and Trump. We have a well-booked show. You're welcome. Of course, when there's new Marquette University Law School polling, got to have the pollster extraordinaire, Charles Franklin. He'll go inside the numbers in the 5 o'clock happy hour. And old friend Bill Press. He's coming back in the happy hour as well. And Joe Walsh, my Republican buddy. We introduced you, but I understand you're going to trash talk him right out of the gate because he doesn't Twitter follow you.
I sent him a message saying, hey, man, you said you're going to follow us on Twitter, so get on that. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, Joe Walsh coming at 4 o'clock. Going to be a fun day today.
He ran for president against Donald Trump. I think he can handle you on Twitter, but we'll see.
You will see.
Tom, here's the real question. Here's the lead in the great state of Wisconsin. Who's the leaker and why? And what the hell is Crute talking about?
Crute, breaking news, Wisconsin Watch. This one came up right before the show. I saw this one flagged out there. Jack Kelly reporting at Wisconsin Watch. The Wisconsin Supreme Court will hear a lawsuit filed by Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin that asks the court to declare that access to abortion is a right protected by the state constitution, according to a draft order obtained by Wisconsin Watch. The draft order also indicates that the court has decided to deny an effort from a coalition of anti-abortion groups, Wisconsin Right to Life, Wisconsin Family Action, and Pro-Life Wisconsin, to intervene in the case, but will allow them to file a brief opposing the lawsuit. Chief Justice Annette Ziegler told Wisconsin Watch, quote, "This is not a public order. I am not in a position to release any further information." The court's other 6 justices did not reply to questions from Wisconsin Watch about the draft order. Whoa, what's going on here, Crute?
What sort of a ship is she running over there, Ziegler, the Chief Justice? I mean, we've got a leak. Is it Alito again?
It can't possibly. Wrong Supreme Court. Jack Kelly continues. The case offers the court's 4-member liberal majority the chance to issue a potentially broad ruling that could include sweeping protections for access to abortion. Now, the draft order obtained by Wisconsin Watch does not include any concurring or dissenting opinions, leaving it unclear which justices voted for or against accepting the case. Oral arguments in the case likely won't happen until after the court's next term starts in the fall.
Why would this be shocking whatsoever, except the leaking aspect? This is not shocking.
Okay, who would leak it and why?
Well, it's got to be a righty.
Right.
Because the lefties, as far as this court goes, the lefties control the court. They can make this decision. There's no harm in making this decision, taking direct original jurisdiction on this case, right? So if they wanted to do it, there's no hurry to go tell the public. Unless you're an outraged righty and, you want people to know they're not accepting Wisconsin right to life's attempt to join in this lawsuit. You got to let the right know how to go and drumbeat this properly on right-wing talk radio.
So those that were denied the intervention in the case, so they will be allowed to file a brief opposing the lawsuit, but someone there, you think that's the motivation on the right, to let everyone know that this liberal court is denying their opportunity to intervene in the Planned Parenthood case.
Well, apparently, what would motivate the left, any of the justices or their staff? Because presumably it wasn't one of the justices directly. Was it Ziegler? Question mark. Bad Bradley, was it? So one must assume it was the staff. So somebody's staffer, probably an important staffer, with or without the boss's consent, leaked this out to Wisconsin Watch. And I'm not sure, have we verified that Wisconsin Watch doesn't have a political bent to it? Like, are we sure that this isn't a conservative outlet? And, I appreciate the fact that they are breaking the news. But this is not one of my go-tos, Dom. And I just want to clarify because, if it is, one must wonder who wanted it in Wisconsin Watch. But either way, it's out there. And it was a righty, I assert.
According to Wisconsin Watch, the About Us, they are a nonpartisan, nonprofit investigative news outlet. We increase the quality and quantity of investigative reporting in Wisconsin while training current and future investigative journalists. Our work fosters an informed citizenry and strengthens democracy. Currently have reporters in Madison, Milwaukee, and Oshkosh, have other members of our robust editorial and business teams located across the state. We collaborate and share our content with mainstream and niche media across Wisconsin and the nation. 501c3, and a founding member of the Institute for Nonprofit News, and so on and so forth. Now, these guys are on my radar. They're one of my 35, 36, whatever sites that I regularly go to. So my impression is that they're pretty down the middle, but I guess I haven't thought much beyond my impression.
Checking out their board of directors right now. That can be a tell as well. I'm not real clear. But anyways, my only point would be is if they are a advocating news source, let's say, as we occasionally do here, we have a point of view. Well, it'd be good to know who leaked it to them. Like, how did they get their hands on this? Obviously, they got a source in one of these offices. Someone wanted this out there. And I haven't seen this broadly reported, Dom. This apparently a scoop. And we've shared it with you.
I would say this, Crute, the State House reporter at Wisconsin Watch, Jack Kelly. Now, he's the one who released this. He covers the legislature and Wisconsin Supreme Court, obviously. He's worked in the past at the Cap Times, if that tells you.
Oh, at the Cap Times. Well, presumably, he's not although Blaska writes an occasional column for the Cap Times, does he not? They'll accept anyone, apparently, Dom, but I would presume there's probably a left lean, or at least a straight journalistic lean on Mr. Kelly's work. So perhaps not an advocating source. They didn't go run to Right Wisconsin or Widgerson's outfit or whatever it's called. But anyways, Dom, my assertion, it only makes sense that the right leaked this. They're trying to activate the base. They're trying to gin up some opposition. They're trying to fundraise. They're trying to get the foot soldiers out. Left doesn't need to. They got the majority.
Jesse Poyen also, now she is a journalist over at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, I think also formerly with the Cap Times.
She was.
She retweeted this today, and when she retweeted Jack Kelly's article, that Chief Justice Annette Ziegler says she's asked law enforcement to investigate the leak, and all 7 justices condemn the breach. Quote, today, Jesse said this attributed this to Chief Justice Annette Ziegler. Quote, today the entire court was shocked, Crute, to learn that a confidential draft document was ostensibly leaked to the press. I've contacted law enforcement to request a full investigation be conducted. We are all united behind this investigation to identify the source of the apparent leak. The 7 of us condemn this breach. Jesse tweeted out today as well.
Well, at least 6.5 of you do. There might be a guilty party on the court, Dom. I mean, and remember when the Dobbs draft came out, and we had lots of speculation. It only made sense to me that was Alito, but Alito wrote the opinion for the court, and it, of course, reversed abortion. But there was a question of whether or not this 5-4 vote, whether or not you want to block in all your votes, keep the pressure on, not let anyone off the hook. And it was quite interesting to me that the U.S. Supreme Court justices did not testify, did not give any testimony under oath as to whether or not they leaked the document. And I heard people...
Really not much of an investigation if, some of the main players that have no comment.
Well, that seems quite true, Dom. And Maggie Dawn, a friend of ours, she's going to be on the fine panel tomorrow night with us at the Barrymore Theater. Did I mention big party tomorrow night? It's debate night. And also panel discussion night. Maggie Dawn will be a part. But she clerked with a federal judge. And she told me there's no freaking way that someone went rogue. It's too prestigious a job. It's a stepping stone to something in their future. No one's going to wreck their whole career without the boss's consent. Know what I mean? Somebody's clerk did so with permission, perhaps with a good swift kick from the boss. Hey, go let this one out. And I've always suspected it was you, Fredo. I knew it the whole time. Folks, we're at the Devil's Advocates. You can be a part. It's going to be a big show today. We've got a fine guest list. Joe Walsh at 4. Bill Press at 5. Charles Franklin, new Marquette University Law School polling. Maybe we'll do a little digging on that. He's coming at 5:30, going inside the numbers. And you could be a part of this whole big whopper of a Wednesday show at 844-967-2789. And did we mention big event at the Barrymore Theater tomorrow night? Debate, party. You're going to be there.
WMDX, Madison's home for Nightlight with Pete Schwab.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
This is Chad Spade. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we preach. At Chad's Design Build, we confront injustice the same way we confront a poorly built home, with love, compassion, intelligence, and persistence. We engage our community the way we engage our clients, with honesty and humility and the dogged determination that we can do better. Chad's Design Build, remodeling done well with love.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio.
Think you know politics? Again, welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Radio. So happy hump to us all. Big debate starting tomorrow. You can join us today on the lines 844-967-2789. Joe Walsh at 4. Bill Press at 5 p.m. Charles Franklin going to go behind the numbers. The Marquette University Law School poll dropped today.
Here's a couple of interesting tidbits. Crudy's takeaways. Favorable, unfavorable ratings. And they've looked at a few prominent state politicians. Tony Evers, he's a net positive. Ron Johnson, less so. Rojo, a bit underwater in this poll, Dom. What is it here? Rojo, minus 12. 38 favorable, 50 unfavorable. But Robin Voss, Dom.
Oh, man, that's not great. He has a favorable rating, Crudy, of 14?
And an unfavorable
35.
So a lot of people don't know who the hell he is.
Apparently,
but half the population.
Come on, man. The guy's only the most powerful, longest serving Wisconsin Assembly member ever. We don't know who Robin Voss is. Speaker, thank you. Yeah, Speaker.
Well, to know him, to not like him, Dom.
Apparently by, 14%. If you know Robin Voss, 14 out of 100 of you like him.
Tony Evers. 51% favorable, 43% unfavorable, plus eight. So the top line, though, the presidential horse race. And, we're still how many months out, Dom?
A few.
But four, a little over 4. 4 months out. So this snapshot is getting a little clearer, a little more in focus. And it's still a dead heat between Biden and Trump here in the state of Wisconsin. And this is one of the handfuls of states nationwide that even matter. No offense to California, no offense to Oklahoma, a lot of states don't matter. Electorally, they're already in a column. They're already red or blue.
California's not going for Trump. Not going to happen.
I won California if it weren't for all the illegals voting.
So you take the electoral votes there, throw them in his slot. And there's lots of states like that. They're going to go red. They're going to go blue. That's just how it is. There's not going to be a whole lot of shock there, probably. So it's down to the swing states then, and Wisconsin being one of the most important swing states because, I live here. And Joe Biden, according to the Marquette University Law School poll, leading Donald Trump 51-49, although within the 4+% margin of error.
Dom, you know who else is leading right now? The unbeatable Tammy Baldwin. And I'm not saying someone could beat her. Someone, perhaps, on this planet could beat her. But it's not going to be Laguna Beach millionaire Eric Hodvie.
Why not? Apparently, he wants more debates, Crudy. Remember we talked about the other day, Tammy Baldwin and Hodvie going to have a debate sometime in October. I saw some headlines that Eric would like to have more. I want more debates. Well,
I would encourage more than one Friday night up against high school football in October. Yes. That doesn't seem sufficient. Dom, I do have a little news on Mr. Hodvie.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Wisdom's bringing to our attention. This guy has not shown himself to be a stellar candidate. And there's more sticking his foot in his mouth. Perhaps, maybe heartfelt. What they're saying. Eric Hudvey says he's familiar with black culture because he visited Africa and he runs homeless shelters. Dateline Madison yesterday, the Washington Post reported on comments from Eric Hudvey made about the black community during an interview with the Truth Radio, Dom. Hurts me to say the frequency. I helped build that one.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one.
Now, he went on the Truth on Juneteenth, Dom. I mean, that's playing it bold. Hudvey suggested he understands black culture because he spent time in Africa and runs homeless shelters for abandoned kids there. These comments come as Hudvey faces increasing scrutiny for repeatedly insulting Wisconsinites, including Hudvey blaming single mothers for societal problems and other racist stereotypes.
What? I thought it was the rock and roll and Elvis shaking the hips, but apparently not.
And other using racist stereotypes that demonize black women. Now, I would point out the Truth is Black Talk Radio, is it not? That's what it's supposed to be. NOV and the Truth are the two Black Talk outlets in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Candidate Hudvey going big, going on the Truth on Juneteenth. Now, I have invited the candidate on this fine program a couple times. We know his guy, Ben. What's up, Ben? I know you're listening, Ben. Anyways, another day, another example of Eric Hudvey insulting the people of Wisconsin, according to Eric Volk, Democratic Party of Wisconsin Rapid Response Director. We'll have DPW Chair Ben Wickler on the big pre-debate show tomorrow about 4:30, Dom. A little bit more. Republican Eric Hudvey, who is running for Senate in Wisconsin, said he's familiar with black culture because he spent a lot of time in Africa and because he runs homeless shelters for the abandoned kids. So host Ben Hooks asked Hudvey if there's anything he's going to take away from this you didn't know about black culture before that, you know of today. And that was his response. Look, I've spent a lot of time in black culture. I've spent a lot of time in places like Africa because I have homeless shelters for abandoned kids and rescuing kids out of the streets. And I've been involved in schooling and charter schools and things of that nature. You know, Dom, things of that nature. During the interview, Hudvey noted that he was that was the first time he participated in a Juneteenth celebration and acknowledged he didn't know much about the holiday, which has come to symbolize the end of slavery in the United States until about a decade ago. I would point out, in Milwaukee, the Truth is based in Milwaukee, the talk radio outlet that he went on Juneteenth. Milwaukee's been running Juneteenth celebrations for like 50 years straight. I think like Milwaukee and Galveston, Texas are like the two U.S. cities that always celebrate Juneteenth. Maybe if Hudvey lived in Wisconsin, he'd know that. Maybe he does know that because, you know, he visited Africa quite a bit, Dom, and he's got a homeless shelter for kids. You know, he's good with the homeless kids in Africa.
He's trailing Tammy Baldwin, by the way, Crute.
Oh, that's a shocker. It's rigged poll. Hudvey's got to be up by dozens, I would guess. Or not. More Devil's Advocates. Join us, 844-967-2789.
WMDX. This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
How do you tell the story of a soybean to an audience that may never have actually been near a soybean field, may never have actually seen a soybean? I'm Pam Yonke with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Wednesday. That was the tall order for director Sam Pinkstone. He partnered up with U.S. Soy to create a documentary that does just that. And along the way, he learned a little something too.
When I first started making it, I never expected to be on the side of a volcano ago in Hawaii, telling a story about how soy can help us get to Mars. It was just really surprising. But we learned how farming is actually run, mainly by small family operations or relatively small family operations. And the goal for the farmer is to look after the land, to pass down to the next generation. So, there's many surprising stories for massive industry, but also really heartwarming stories for individuals and individual businesses as well.
That's Sam Pinkstone. He is the director of a new documentary that's out on the A&E network, Groundbreaking, a story of innovation, U.S. soy. Now, you can see the documentary. All you need to do is jump online, go to ussoy.org/groundbreaking. Pinkstone's already at work on the second documentary focused in on soybean story of innovation, supported in part by soybean checkoff dollars.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual Insurance is a proud sponsor of the Wisconsin State Fair. As a thank you for your support, they're giving away State Fair tickets. Visit ruralmutual.com/win and enter to win State Fair tickets.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong. A voice for farmers, vision for agriculture, Wisconsin Farm Bureau.
As a member, I have had the opportunity to grow personally and professionally through valuable programming. Learning opportunities like Farm Bureau's Leadership Institute and grassroots policy process have set me up to succeed both on and off the farm. Become a member by visiting WFBF.com.
Vision for agriculture, Wisconsin Farm Bureau.
And yesterday at Decatur Dairy in Broadhead, USDA Undersecretary Jenny Lester Moffitt announced that they were awarding $12 million in federal funding to 4 dairy innovation centers across the United States, including the Dairy Business Innovation Alliance. That alliance is run by the Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association and the Center for Dairy Research. The alliance will be eligible for about $3 million of that total award to support product research and development, technical assistance, education, and grants to dairy businesses. I'm Pam Yonke.
This is your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected locally across the Civic Media Network.
A dry, sunny, beautiful, and breezy day today, with winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour out of the north, eliminating the humidity and keeping our highs scraping 80. With no rain in the forecast for tomorrow, too. Enjoy it. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 83 degrees.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration. With 18 southeastern Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thunder snaps to 500-gram aerials, Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheers to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for a location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
It is one of the most important business decisions you will make, selling your commercial building. It should involve making a plan to maximize your sale price through effective and responsive marketing. Your plan should also include a clear understanding of tax consequences. You need the professionals at Altus Commercial Real Estate to guide your success. Experience and responsive professionals make all the difference. Make your plan to sell. Call Altus Commercial Real Estate today at 608-338-1101.
John Peterson and Gordy Young.
On our next show, attorney Jim Santel. And we'll be talking about the latest Supreme Court decisions. Join us first thing in the morning.
Weekday mornings 6 until 8.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, a whopper of a Wednesday edition. It is debate eve, party eve, although this is always a political party if done properly, and you can play a part. 844-967-2789. One more thought from Eric Hudvey. He pledged he would return for future Juneteenth, Tom, because I like to party, I like dancing. I like food. He seems like a real partier, this guy.
I like to party. I like dancing. I like food too. And I like celebrating freedom with all of our friends. Crute,
Tomorrow.
the Marquette University Law School poll.
No, let me self-promote for just a moment longer, because we're pivoting off the party to tomorrow night's party. Just in case you're unaware, tomorrow night, a big party. Dom's coming to town. It must be a big party at the Barrymore Theater. It kicks off at 7 o'clock. I've got news to announce about the party, Dom. We're going to start with the musical stylings of Tom Castle. Our buddy Tom is going to play some tunes, and then we're doing a panel discussion, if you hadn't heard, not just the Devils, not just Maggie Dawn, but also pollster extraordinaire. Come out and meet Charles Franklin. He'll be on the air with us at 5:30 today, and he'll be on the panel tomorrow giving us insights. So come on down. It's free. Bring some cash for the bar, or at least bring your cash card and get some cash, because beer costs cash. And otherwise, have a great time. The debate will play at 8, and commiserating. Fun to be had by all. You're welcome. Come on down. Have a good time. Now, please continue, Dem. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm so rude.
The Marquette University Law School poll, and Charles Franklin going to be our guest at 5:30. So you only have a couple more hours. Stick around. You have your assignment. We have commandments, Crute. You must listen to the Devil's Advocates 3 hours every day, Monday through Friday.
That's number one on the
extra credit if you listen
commandment
on the
list.
weekend. But here's the final numbers, at least regarding this particular poll, with Hovde and Baldwin. Among both registered and likely voters, 52% said they backed Baldwin, while 47% supported Hovde. Now,
Do you
that
remember-
5-point swing is barely outside of the 4.9% margin of error.
I'd say it's closer to 9 than 5. You know, if the margin, I think it's stretching to a bigger
Right.
lead. Do you remember when your girl, Aaliyah Vukmer, Nurse Ratchet, as I'd like to call her, and she got crushed by Tammy. She
More than
lost to
10
Tammy.
points.
Yeah, 10.6, something like that. Tammy beat Tommy Thompson, and people used to think Tommy was unbeatable. Well, he beat Eric Hudvey's ass. Tommy did in the primary, but then Tammy beat Tommy in 2012. And the newest Dom, as you mentioned, Hudvey is pushing for more debates, but there's comments as well. Apparently he thinks Tammy's ducking the voters of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. Hey, at least she's in Wisconsin, Eric.
Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin and Republican businessman Eric Hudvey don't agree on much anything, including how many debates they should participate in ahead of the November 5th election. Now, remember, Tammy is up in the polls. And if you're up, you don't really need to have lots of debates, do you?
You don't need to punch down, do you?
The Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Foundation announced Monday that the candidates will square off on October 18th. That's 4 months from now, Dom, which will take place on WMTV TV in Madison and will be televised and broadcast on the radio throughout the state. I feel quite confident Civic Media will make some effort to play that. Now, Hudvey, a banking and real estate mogul, I think he does a little porn on the side. At least that's what the mustache would seem to indicate to him. Has also agreed to participate in debates hosted by Milwaukee's WISN TV and Green Bay's WFRV TV. And asked whether Baldwin is considering agreeing to other debates, a campaign spokesperson said, Tammy is looking forward to debating Eric Hudvey at the WBA debate, which will air in every media market across the state this fall. Basically, whatever we want to do. Meanwhile, she'll keep doing what she's always done as Wisconsin senator, showing up in red, blue, and purple urban, suburban, and rural communities, listening to working people, and taking their voices to Washington. That according to Andrew Mamo, M-A-M-O. That's a new last name to me, Andrew. I'm sorry. In a statement, Hudvey called on Baldwin to participate in all 3 proposed debates. Yeah, lots of stuff I asked Dom to do. I'm lucky if I get 1 out of 3
Yeah,
yeses.
good luck. Hey, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Here is what the HUDV campaign says, Dom. The people of Wisconsin deserve to hear about the choice they have in the Senate election this fall, and I call on Senator Baldwin to agree to debate across Wisconsin to explain her record as a career politician responsible for higher inflation and open borders. I'm happy to contrast that with my background as a California rich guy. No, as a political outsider who will get things done. And who will put Wisconsin ahead of special interest.
He's been trying to get on the inside for years now.
He is a special interest. You own banks, sir. You are literally a special interest. Now, as mentioned, Dom, HUDV finished close second to Tommy in 2012, considered running in 18. And here is what's being said now. Senator Baldwin was happy to support the Biden agenda every step of the way in Washington, but now that it led to inflation, open borders, and a drug epidemic in Wisconsin, she's ducking the voters that will ultimately hold her accountable. Tammy's in the state constantly campaigning. She didn't have to mail it in every 6th year. You know what I'm saying? She actually lives here. It's gives her an advantage, let's just say, Eric. But anyways, he continues whining. It is shameful and cowardly, but just the kind of thing to expect from a career politician that is sold out to special interest and is not fit for Wisconsin anymore.
Wow.
Not like your special interest. You are literally the human embodiment of special interest.
Crute, Baldwin is viewed favorably by 45% of voters, down from 47% in April. Unfavorably by 44%, up from 42% in April. 11% have no opinion. So 45, 47. So she's favorable. Her favorability is down by 2, unfavorability up by 2. HUDV viewed favorably by 23% of voters, up from 19. So he's +4 in the favorability from April. However, he is now viewed unfavorably by 32%, up from 24% in April. So as you get to know Eric, the less you like him. The percentage of voters with no opinion on HUDV gone down to 44% from 56. So people are recognizing that stash, but the more they see, the less they like, according to the new Marquette polling.
Well, even the great debate he had this week, should he or shouldn't he shave the stash? Done with all the dynamics of watching paint dry.
Rigged. It's rigged. I like to see I want a recount of the vote of whether or not Eric HUDV should or should not shave his mustache. I want to know who's in charge of counting those votes. I want to know where the
mustache.
I want to know who they voted for, who they contributed to. I don't want rigged election officials determining whether or not Eric HUDV should keep his mustache. It's rigged, I tell you.
And if he does not relinquish the full analytics to us,
yes,
in 15 minutes or less, he's a complete and utter coward.
Yes, total coward. Loser. But what do you expect from a mustache like that?
Or you could join us on the air. I mean, if you're going to the truth and claiming you know a lot about black culture because you've been to Africa, what's the harm in coming on the Devil's Advocates?
Don't forget the homeless shelters, because apparently that's all the black people where the black people live, according to HUDV.
Well, I would not have thought to ask candidate HUDV, what's your experience with the black culture, but in that it was the truth and it was Juneteenth, seemed appropriate. Probably, he's pandering. I would have asked him, got any hot sauce in your purse?
I do love me some Cholula, man. I'm not lying.
So, Dom, we're going to turn it up a bit. We got a former Republican firebrand joining us at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. And our attention, I think, eventually, Dom, should turn to the big debate. Are you excited? I mean, at least for the party. I know you don't care. You could read the transcripts. I know. Yeah, you've got a history of non-attendance.
Me and HUDV, man, we like to party. We like to eat. We
dancing,
like to dance. I'm just like Eric HUDV without the mustache. You know, I've been.
You
thinking
could probably
about
grow one by tomorrow. I've seen you.
it does. It is quite a thing. It kind of takes over. I got to tell you, this thing. I really have very little of an upper lip. I get it from my grandfather, my dad. No upper lip, man. Stiff upper lip, perhaps. So it's like all mustache. It's just bleh, it's all mustache. It's a little much. I think it kind of hurts my hips because it alters my gait when I walk.
You and Hudvey both.
Will Donald Trump show up? Looks like
tomorrow.
Looks
tomorrow,
like it.
are you still playing that angle?
We'll see.
Gonna get this one absolutely wrong, Dominic?
Until he does, there's a chance that he doesn't.
You know who else is playing that angle?
Who's that?
Steve at the Barrymore Theater. Griefing me. Late last night, I get this email from Steve. What's your plan when Trump doesn't show up? I'm thinking, we party Raiders shine.
Hey, that's right, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
It's not a fair weather party. It's a devil's advocates party.
Party, man. It's a political party. It goes on no matter what. At least that's what we decided. But it was a question. And we'll have that answer tomorrow.
And I suspect Trump at this late hour, if he was going to back out, he would have been backing out instead of building up Joe Biden as a debater. You know, obviously he's trying to cast expectations.
I'm not clear that he would have done anything more than he's already done if he were to back out. He's had all the surrogates out there saying, "Oh, Joe's on performance enhancing drugs. Oh, he's going to be on cocaine." And I might just
up Joe.
What else other than actually not showing up? He has laid all that seed cord down for not showing up.
But he will be there.
Okay.
Tomorrow, this will be the most important political party of your lifetime. Most important political debate, perhaps, of your lifetime. Because I don't even know if there'll be any more debates. This could be a one and done. I know they signed up for a September 10th event, I believe. But
you mean between Biden and Trump, or like in the history of America going forward? Because if Trump wins, then he'll be a dictator for a day, and that's all you need. There will be no debates. You do not debate the great leader.
I'm not clear, and it seems strange to me that, Trump's going to be a dictator for a day, but then he's going to give all the power back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean Hannity and the others, the lefties, they harangued Trump because he said dictator for a day. I'm thinking he said it to you, Hannity, but...
Well, not only said it to him. Think about how he is. Hannity was leading Trump. He was, hey, you're not going to be a dictator, are you, sir? You would never do something like that.
Just on day one.
Trump cannot even take the hand given to him by the sycophants at Fox News. He still must be Donald Trump. Well, I'll be a dictator, for a day. He can't, even when it's Hannity or any of the other anchors that allow him, that give him, hey, they lead him on the question. Here, Trump, you're not, he couldn't do that in court. Objection, Your Honor. Can't even do that. Trump doesn't even have the mentality to do that.
Because he's too truthful? Now, I can hear Rich laughing in the booth right now through the wall. Apparently that inspired a reaction, but I've often said, Dom, here on the radio with you, the truth ultimately outs. Like if I got a burr under my saddle or something,
yeah,
it's coming out eventually. The truth
sooner or later, man,
will come out.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Come back. Call us now, or Crute will be highly agitated. 844-967-2789.
Madison's home for the John and Gordy Show.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever.
Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
Hey, Darcy, I just saw the perfect house. Can you help me write an offer on it?
I'd be happy to, Brian. Did you see it at an open house?
No, I just called the sign and had the agent show it to me. I didn't want to bug you.
Right. How many times have you heard me say don't call the sign?
All of them?
You called the agent working for the seller, and once you see the property with that agent, I'm no longer free to write an offer on it. You need to hire us from the beginning, help you find the right home, negotiate on your behalf, and protect your interests all the way through the process, and it shouldn't cost you a dime.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them at solidarityrealty.com.
Hey, Brad from Zero Res Madison here. What's the best way to clean your carpet? Well, not surprisingly, it's the same way you clean your clothes. You wouldn't clean a dirty shirt by running a white cloth over the top of it, nor would you try to get it clean by sprinkling chemicals and rubbing it in. For a real clean, you need hot water, agitation, and a cleaning agent, just like your laundry. For a fresh, healthy clean with no residue, call Zero Res Madison or schedule online. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
And thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open, going there shortly at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I see there's a coup underway in Bolivia. Now, if it's unsuccessful, I wonder if they'll find their own Merrick Garland to prosecute the coup undertakers like in 4 to 6 years. You know, maybe after they've undertaken another Bolivian coup. I'm just looking for parallels from our own history, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, one other quick note, and 844-967-2789. That is the political party line. You know who did win last night in her own primary, and it was a tough affair, apparently? Lauren Boebert. You know, Miss Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
She carpet-bagged her way into a new district, and then she won the primary, the Republican primary.
But that primary had like 6-7 people in it, man. And she did not win over 50%, but she did win against all the others.
Well, and then she showed up in her party shoes last night, Dom. Her Trump party shoes.
Oh, did she get the sneakers? Did she have the gold sneakers?
Hold on. Rep. Lauren Boebert, Republican from Colorado, celebrated her Republican primary win in full MAGA regalia, but she admitted her Trump sneakers were knockoffs. But she spray paint a pair of Nikes in the driveway?
You knock off the knockoffs? What are you telling me?
The Colorado Republican knocked off 5 contenders for the state's 4th congressional district GOP nomination, and the Donald Trump ally took the stage at her victory party Tuesday night wearing a white Make America Great Again hat with Trump's signature across the bill and a pair of gold sneakers that she said were dupes of the former president's limited edition shoes, reported Westward. These are very China, but I'm okay with that, Boebert said, laughing. If I could have bought the OGs, I would have. You could have. You're just too cheap. Now, Dom, the originals have already sold out, apparently, according to GetTrumpSneakers.com, and remain on pre-order status with an estimated shipping date sometime next month. You know, so if you want the real Trump sneakers and you don't want to have to gold spray paint some Nikes, a little bit more, Trump announced the launch of 1,000 custom limited edition Never Surrender high tops, which are reflective gold and feature American flag uppers with metallic stars on the back and a T in Boston leather at SneakerCon in February in Philadelphia. And you know who else is sporting the Trump sneakers today, Dom?
I do not.
Lots of stories of Trump sneakers. Apparently, the Stolen Valor, the newest Stolen Valor Republican, well, he's ditched the not earned Green Beret pin.
Oh, he took the pin off. Okay, gotcha.
And he showed up in Trump sneakers. Only I suspect the real kind. He just stole them from a guy.
I mean, maybe not.
The stolen valor Republican ditches honorary pen and dons Trump gold sneakers instead. And a stogie in the photograph. He's got a stogie, Dom. House Republican accused of stolen valor for donning a Special Forces award he didn't earn has dropped the pen and picked up a pair of gold Trump sneakers instead. You know, when you are a complete and utter fraud and you want to show the world, get you some Trump sneakers.
Well, I wonder if he got the extra option to help soften the bone spurs. It might be an extra $100.
Rep. Troy Niels, Republican from Texas, explained to reporters he made the decision because you guys are vultures. What?
it's all your fault because you mocked me for stolen valor?
Now that I don't wear that, what are you going to talk to me about, said Niels, who reportedly also wearing a tie of former President Donald Trump hugging the American flag. You guys are going to be bored out of your minds. Trump has repeatedly hugged and even kissed the American flag at Conservative Political Action Committee events, conference events, first in 2019. And as recently as this February, he's got a bit of a flag fetish.
Yep.
The former president's golden sneaker line dropped in February, Dom. The same month, a New York civil court judge found him liable for $464 million in fraud damages. Well, the sneakers, $399 a pair. That's too rich for Lauren Boebert's blood, apparently. The Never Surrender sneakers are now being offered at a 75% discount. And ties with pictures of Trump hugging the American flag retail at $37. Is that what true loyalty is worth to you,
$37.
Congressman? $37 and some discount sneakers. Why, if the sneakers are now 75% off, couldn't Lauren Boebert have gotten herself some authentic Trump sneakers? Stolen her own valor.
She wanted them when she wanted them, man.
But she couldn't get them, so she got out a can of spray paint, did a little huffing, and then painted some Nikes. I mean, vaping. I forget. Huffing, vaping, similar but slightly different. Damn, we got a fine guest joining us next. Former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh. He's a Chi-Town guy. And he ran for president against Donald Trump. Never Trumper. I wonder how he would be preparing for the debate. Maybe tussling with you on the airwaves. Certainly not Twitter. You'd have to follow us for that. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. Follow us on Twitter at Devil Radio. If you don't, Dom gets sort of butthurt.
WMDX. Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, we will talk all things sports with the Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan and a little weather update. It's Weather and Wine with Brittany Merlot. Make sure you join us.
Matnair on air, weekday mornings at 11.
Wisconsin summers are too short, so this year we decided to make the most of it. Crute called Go Landscaping, and Cody and his team will take it from here. Go Landscaping can bring your jungle under control or create the lasting outdoor living space you've always dreamed about. Specializing in stone and paver construction, Go Landscaping are the landscaping pros you need. Do what Crute did. Call Cody at Go Landscaping today to get started. 608-807-9245.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
Hey,
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Prep's going on for tomorrow's first presidential debate, which will have no studio audience, and the candidate's mic will only be on when it's his turn. ABC's Rachel Scott.
Some advisors and some allies do acknowledge that they hope that this actually helps the former president stay on message because he won't have to play off the audience. He can control the message, control the narrative. But anybody that knows Donald Trump well knows that it will be up to Donald Trump. We don't necessarily know which version of the former president we are going to get tomorrow night on that stage.
The Supreme Court appears ready to allow emergency abortions in Idaho when a pregnant woman's health is at risk as a legal case plays out. That from Bloomberg News, which said the ruling was briefly posted on the court's website, then taken down. Today was the first session of the trial of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, the American who denies spy charges. Extreme heat, bad storms affecting more than 50 million Americans. This is ABC News.
This news report is sponsored by Wisconsin Capital Management, LLC, serving their clients for 40 years. Visit wiscap.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. A Madison judge is granting a temporary injunction that will allow people with disabilities to vote at home electronically. Dane County's Everett Mitchell says the state law banning election clerks from emailing absentee ballots to disabled voters is unenforceable. The case could go all the way to the state Supreme Court. The first presidential debate is tomorrow night. Kristen Sierra is a teacher in Port Washington with an autoimmune disorder, but she's listening to hear what the candidates have to say about helping young people.
What are we going to do about this whole generation of people who do not have health care as part of their employment package? How are they going to access health care so they can stay healthy?
Civic Media's debate coverage is on many of these stations tomorrow night at 7:30. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. It's a sign of summer in Madison. Concerts on the Square is back. As many as 50,000 people could be downtown for the kickoff of the annual concert series tonight. That means major traffic. Remember, Doty Street has some lane closures because of construction. The show starts at 7, and remember, you can't put blankets down to save your spot until after 3. And June is a time to honor the diversity and resilience of the LGBTQ+ community while also highlighting the challenges they can face.
People within this community are more likely to experience some anxiety, depression, as well as maybe even eating disorders, just to kind of cope with their stress.
That's Saba Khan, a family medicine resident physician at Aspirus. She says in any marginalized group, discrimination often leads to mental health challenges. She says for the queer community, finding a provider you trust can save your life. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
It's the NBA Draft tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Milwaukee Bucks enter the draft with the 23rd pick overall. Tomorrow, pick number 33. GM John Horst says the challenge is to make a good Bucks team even better.
Just being laser focused on that, drilling down in and figuring out what are the specific skill sets that will give us the returns we need in a tough playoff series. That the league keeps getting better. They're going to be better again next year. Boston's going to come back on fire, and they're going to be great. Like, Miami's going to be great. Hopefully, we're going to be great. Brooklyn could be healthy and be great. And so that's just to name a few.
Baseball, the Brewers wrapping up their series today against the Rangers. A full recap coming up tonight. Last night, the Crew with a 3-1 win over Texas. It's the 8th consecutive series win at home for Milwaukee. Hobie Milner got his first major league start, but was pulled after 2. Bryce Wilson pitched for 6 innings, but replaced in the 9th.
Hobie did his job. We're not going to ask Hobie to go more than that. Yeah, Bryce was rolling, and I just felt like, you know what? If we would have scored some runs in the 8th, we'd have definitely brought him up.
That's Brewers manager Pat Murphy. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
A dry, sunny, beautiful, and breezy day today with winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour out of the north, eliminating the humidity and keeping our highs scraping 80. With no rain in the forecast for tomorrow, too. Enjoy it. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently 82 degrees.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio.
Wisconsin Capital Management in Madison is a registered investment advisory firm and has been serving their clients for the past 40 years. The firm is focused on providing investment advisory services to its affiliated mutual funds. Their approach to investment management is designed to provide competitive performance over the entire business cycle. Their clients rely on them to manage their assets through the fluctuations of market cycles, and they strive to outperform over the long term. For information, visit wiscap.com.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever, and due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show, a whopper of a Wednesday edition. Dom, I've been busy booking a great show. We've got Charles Franklin, New Marquette University Law School polling in the 5 o'clock hour. We've got our pal, Bill Press, pundit, friend, podcaster, Bill Press, in the happier hour. And right from the top, Dom, we bring back Joe Walsh, the returning champion. Joe, a former Republican congressman, a former presidential candidate, hopefully a friend of ours. Joe, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Joe.
Leadoff batter. I've always been the cleanup batter. This is BS, but I'll take it.
You want to stick around, do a little bonus coverage? We are doing a debate. We tomorrow night, Joe. You could stay a little bit later, but first and foremost, welcome back, Joe. And I would wonder, are you eagerly anticipating the biggest debate of your lifetime, sir?
Not eagerly, but I am anticipating. I can't tell a lie, not eagerly.
Joe, what would you expect? Obviously, the first time Biden and Trump debated, it was a bit of a crap show. Trump continuously interrupted candidate Biden, and, it was a little bit hard to watch. Joe, do you think we'll see something similar?
Look, here's the drill. Here's the deal. Trump is who he is. He's an utterly horrible human being. And every time I go on TV, every time I go on the radio, every time I go anywhere, I just want to remind everybody, Donald Trump is the only president in the history of America who lost an election and refused to concede, refused to participate in the peaceful transfer of power, and then he tried to overthrow that election. I have to get that out first. What I expect tomorrow is, look, this race is a dead heat right now. I don't think Trump has anything to prove. Everybody knows who and what Trump is. Joe Biden has a lot to prove. He has one thing to prove. And if he can't prove that, he's not going to win. Biden has to prove he's not too old. Period. He has to prove he's up to the job. Period. If he can do that, I think he'll win.
Joe, have you noted they're calling him Jacked Up Joe and claiming he's on drugs or Mountain Dew or something? This seems like a strange thing to cast upon sleepy Joe Biden. He can't have it both ways, but of course they want it both ways. He's completely asleep at the wheel until debate time. Then they give him the drugs. So, Joe, what do you think of this whole drug test the president? Why won't Biden take a drug test? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Mike, you're right. Look, it's Trump. I need to remind everybody, and I say this as somebody who was a Republican my whole life until 3 or 4 years ago. This party is Trump's, and he's an idiot, and he's a bad person. So he says things like they're going to juice Biden up. They're going to put drugs into him. Again, Trump has always said stuff like this. What makes me sad is all the other Republicans who now say the same damn thing because it's Trump's party and he's their dear leader.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Joe Walsh, our guest host of White Flag with Joe Walsh. You can find him on the Twitters as well. I appreciate you coming around, Joe. It sounds to me, sir, you think that this is Joe Biden's debate to lose. But let me be the Devil's Advocate for a moment, if I may. Sounds like a lot of people are going to be watching this thing, and presumably there's going to be a lot of people that really haven't made up their mind or haven't, pulled their head out or gotten away from the work of the kids or the family or the parents enough to really dial down. I know it's hard to believe, but maybe there's some folks like that out there. And they turn this thing on and they see Donald Trump, rambling about sharks and electrocution and batteries and how he's the snake. Don't you think there's a huge possibility that would turn a whole lot of people off?
No. By the way, I agree with you. I think there are a lot more people undecided than all the experts say. And I talk to a lot of these people every day. And what they tell me is, Joe, I know Trump is a-hole. I know he's a bad person. But Joe Biden is too old. And so I don't know what I'm going to do, Joe. I don't know who I'm going to vote for. Trump's not going to change. Trump's always going to be an a-hole, a bad guy. Biden's the one who's got to show he's not too old. And my worry is that if a voter goes into the booth in November and they have to decide between the horrible guy and the old guy, a lot of Americans will choose the a-hole. That's why this is on Biden as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I feel like we're a little numb to it. At least I am. I've heard him. We listen to him. We have gone to all the rallies over the years. And while, maybe I'm numb to it, if you're not dialed in like that or part of the mega crowd, some of the things he says and how he acts, I think will, in fact, turn some people off, Joe. But I want to ask you a question. I was on the Twitter feed and looking to see if you see that, but I wanted to ask you specifically about one of your
following you guys? Posts. I need to follow you.
At Devil Radio, baby. But you put one up last week, Joe.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's all right. I messaged you. You put one up last week about your past and about how hard it was to watch video of you when you first started politics. I think you said you were a divisive political a-hole. And I appreciate the sentiment, Joe, and my question.
No, Joe. Oh, go ahead.
I lost you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. Folks, we got Joe Walsh. Dom may come back with a complete thought at some point here momentarily. Joe, let me ask you. 34 felony convictions of candidate Trump. How do you think that has affected the electorate?
I think it's helped Trump. I think that case in particular has helped Trump because it was a stretch to bring that indictment against him. Look, he's guilty. He's a convicted felon. But that's the luckiest thing that happened to Trump. Trump tried to overthrow the election. He hasn't been put on trial for that yet. He tried to overthrow Georgia's election. He hasn't been put on trial for that yet. He purposely took classified docs and then tried to prevent them from being retrieved. He hasn't been put on trial for that yet either. So the only thing he's been put on trial for is this New York thing, paying off, hush money to a porn star that he had sex with. Most Americans don't care about that trial. So I think that's helped Trump.
Joe, let me ask you, if we assume you're either a Biden voter or a Trump voter, and the Trump voters are going to be completely non-moved mostly by the felony convictions in New York, and the Biden people weren't going to vote for the man anyways. So the only people really still out there deciding, Joe, are perhaps low information, low propensity voters, people that maybe don't go to the ballot box every midterm. So do you think simply seeing the headline guilty, felonies, does any of that have effect on the undecideds, Joe?
I think it's a net plus for Trump, and here's why. Since he was convicted, a month ago, Republicans have all rallied around him. I know a lot of Republicans. I used to be a Republican. I know a lot of Republicans who can't stand Trump, and even they were pissed off because those convictions didn't seem fair. I think it would have been a whole different ball game if Trump had been convicted for for January 6th, trying to overthrow the election. That would have been a whole different conviction. But I think a lot of independents and Republicans think this one was BS.
Joe, I get that. And, I watched that trial, and at least the coverage of the trial, we didn't actually have inside the courtroom. I am waiting on the U.S. Supreme Court like everybody is. Do you think we will have an immunity ruling this week? And if so, do you think it will affect the conversation at the debate?
I don't think we'll have one this week. It would impact the debate tomorrow night if it came down tomorrow. I can't fathom how the Supreme Court would grant total immunity to Donald Trump. Then Joe Biden could literally have Donald Trump taken out right now. So that's not going to happen. But what the Supreme Court is doing is they're delaying. They're purposely playing along with Trump's delay game to push that trial beyond the election. And that's outrageous. That's justice delayed.
Joe Walsh, what has been your reaction when we find out the partisan, at least flag flying of the Alito family? They have obviously shown their colors, and we hear these things, but there seemingly is no way to force a Supreme Court justice to recuse. So we literally have Alito ruling on whether or not this guy gets immunity, and he's flying the flag upside down, or blame it on the wife. But you get the point, sir.
I get the point, my friend. I totally get the point, my friend. Look, this Supreme Court, and I'm a conservative. I'm an originalist when it comes to the courts, but this Supreme Court has gotten overly political, way too political, and they are unaccountable. As a former congressman, I would say this could be a battle of the branches of government. Congress may need to weigh in with legislation trying to hold the Supreme Court accountable. Because otherwise they're going to have to regulate and hold themselves accountable, and I don't see them doing that. Right now it's a political issue, and Biden ought to make it a campaign issue.
Joe, as a former congressman, did you ever receive $4 million plus in goods and travel from any political donors?
No, if I had, I wouldn't be speaking to you two right now at all.
That would have been a crime as a congressman, right? But somehow it's permissible.
It's allowed as a Supreme Court justice, and they barely have to report this stuff. It's wrong.
Well, and they get to write their own recusal rules, too. I love that. Joe Walsh, buddy, don't be a stranger. We'll catch up with you real soon. And
you're the best, guys. Thank you.
At Devil Radio, do it for Dom. Come back, more Devil's Advocates on the other side. Join us, 844-967-2789. It is going to be a big show. We started with Joe Walsh, not that one, the other one. Bill Press, our friend, podcaster, pundit, and Charles Franklin got new Marquette University Law School polling out today. Shocker! It's very, very close. More Devils.
FM, home of the John and Gordy Show.
I'm Mike Crute, and I've signed my share of commercial real estate leases. In Madison, I highly recommend Jeff Jansen from Altus Commercial Real Estate. Jeff guided me to my first radio station location on the west side. He helped us move to University Ave, and eventually Jeff set up the lease on the Civic Media World headquarters. No one works harder to provide options in commercial leasing. Call Jeff Jansen and his team at Altus Commercial Real Estate at 608-338-1101.
Every business seeks an advantage, whether it's having the best location, hiring top talent, or spotting trends before they happen. And now, the United States Postal Service can give your business a new advantage. Introducing Introducing USPS Ground Advantage. Reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. It's the advantage you need at the price you want. Get the Ground Advantage at USPS.com/advantage. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner. Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at ZeroResMadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, we're back from the break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Love it when you join the political party on the lines. Talk or text 844-967-2789.
Dom, want to thank our most recent guest, one of 3 big guests on this program, Joe Walsh, former congressman, former presidential candidate, coming up in the happy hour, 5 o'clock Central. Bill Press. He's a pundit. He's a podcaster. He's a friend of ours. Bill joins at 5, and New Marquette University Law School polling out Charles Franklin, also in the happy hour at 5:30. And you can join us right now, 844-967-2789. Jackie from Menominee Falls, you're the first today. Welcome, Jackie. What do you got for us?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie from Menominee Falls. I have a question. My ex is in the district of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and my ex said that they were a little concerned that the turnout there was like only 100 people or so, and they're afraid that some of the enthusiasm is, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Some of the enthusiasm is leaving, and I was just wanted to know what your thoughts are, and I'm looking forward to hearing these results of this Marquette poll. Can I take the answer off the air, please?
Sure, Jackie. Thank you for joining us. A couple of thoughts. Ocasio-Cortez has, well, there's always a chance in politics. Eric Cantor was in line to be the Speaker of the House, and he lost a primary. But unlike Jamal Bowman, there is about a 0% chance that Ocasio-Cortez will lose her primary. Now, having said that, the enthusiasm currently, and according to the Marquette University Law School poll, will go inside the numbers with Charles Franklin in the 5 o'clock hour. The enthusiasm currently is with Republicans. And I think that dovetails with something that Joe Walsh said. I think a lot of Republicans rallied around their MAGA cult leader, rallied around Trump when he was convicted. And the enthusiasm for this now convicted felon, I mean, they're more embracive of the man. So it is strange to me that this has turned out the base. And it is a little bit bothersome to me, as Joe mentioned to us, you know, the real trials, the real criming, the insurrection, the trying to overturn the election in Georgia, the keeping of classified documents and doing with which God knows what, but certainly obstructing justice, certainly holding on to top secret documents. Well, none of those things have come to trial. And while they're out there in the nebulous, people know Trump's been accused, there are plenty of reasonable people that are waiting And if there is no evidence, I mean, how did Scott Walker win the recall? I heard so many people say, well, if there's no evidence of a crime, then it's just politics. Well, as Joe mentioned, this conviction, although in a court of law, a jury of his peers considered evidence presented, took weeks. But what I would say is if it's not perceived to be actual criming, it's perceived to be political, and it plays into his narrative that it's all a big witch hunt. Well, it has ginned up the enthusiasm for Team MAGA.
Not just the enthusiasm, and Jackie can take you for the call, but also
the monetary enthusiasm as well.
Man. And I get the sentiment in the sense that if you truly believe that your candidate was the victim of some lawfare, however you define it, as they determined to define it, I can see how that would gin some people up and get them very motivated. And that's why I think it's very important that we continue on with these other court cases. Unfortunately, I don't know if the time will allow for it because these particular crimes that he was convicted on were the lesser of all of them. And we're talking about a guy that sat on his ass while his supporters at his recommendation, Come Will Be Wild, attack the Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to stop the counting of the vote, yada, yada, yada. We know the storyline. Those are the most important ones. Those are the issues that directly affect our democracy and our country and our governance. Whether a guy's, in fraud and not reporting his taxes right or swindling his supporters, less of an issue for me specifically than trying to overthrow the government. However, that being said, the crimes that he was convicted on, were misdemeanors enhanced because they were covering up another crime, was, of course, because he didn't want the story to get out about Stormy Daniels and how that would impact the election. He very well may have saved his electoral life by doing what he did and eventually became president. I mean, maybe that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back. We will never know. So I get the point of the enthusiasm. You think your guy's getting railroaded. Sure, but he's not getting railroaded. That's the whole point. I'm down. You want to have those discussions. What specifically about the facts that the jury found him guilty in? What do you refute? Anyone who says, well, no, he didn't do it, or it's lawfare. Well, okay,
the testimony given by Michael Cohen, I could actually sit here and go through what I would refute, and I'm actually on your side. But the actual evidence presented at trial, the testimony of Michael Cohen, the fact he stole from the man, there are plenty of reasons to question the outcome. Now, I give credit to the jury. I would say these are people trying to do their duty, but there are plenty of questions coming out of this trial, Dom. I mean, come on. You could argue, reasonable people could argue about the evidence presented and whether or not there was enough there to convict.
Apparently there was, unanimously. Every one of them. We did that, and that's what they determined. And you can say, well, I don't like that, or Michael Cohen did this. When you have a bunch of criminals in a conspiracy, and some of them are cooperating and some of them are not, you're going to have to deal with nefarious characters. That's not uncommon. Look at every single mob trial ever when you got someone on the inside or someone that flipped. And the fact that...
Okay, but we're not talking about Trump dropping dimes and having people off. We're talking about Trump paying off porn stars and playmates to not tell about their sexual tryst with Trump. That doesn't seem to have the gravity of, Corleone family business, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you can make the mobster analogy, man, but it doesn't stick.
It's not a big deal, and it's not murder, right? It's not. But he's still guilty. He still did it. He did. He did it. He did it. You think he didn't do it?
The nation knows he paid off a porn star, and their collective response has been to either support the man or to yawn. So I don't think anyone wants to argue the finer points of evidence in the hush money case. Now, I don't think it's convincing.
Convicted. It's literally convincing.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. A youth counselor at the Lincoln Hills Youth Prison in northern Wisconsin is dead. Corey Prue is one of 2 employees allegedly attacked by a 16-year-old inmate Monday night. Problems at Lincoln Hills go back several years. A new youth prison in Milwaukee is expected to be ready by the end of next year or early 2026. Weather emergencies like floods bring out the scam artists. Bao Vang of the Better Business Bureau says to be wary of contractors you don't know offering to fix your flood damage.
They're offering quick fixes or big promises that they do not intend to keep.
Vang recommends making sure you know what your insurance covers first. She says you're best off hiring local accredited contractors. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now, here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. The percentage of kids going hungry in Dane County has doubled. Dozens of food pantries are banding together to say they need more funding to support everyone who needs them right now. The most recent data shows in 2021, 7% of Dane County kids face food insecurity, but in 2022, that number was 13%. Ellen Carlson, Executive Director of Way Forward Resources.
A bunch of the food pantries came together to actually compile our needs. And that showed a 112% increase across the board.
Way Forward had a 300% increase. The group of 36 pantries took out an ad in the Wisconsin State Journal asking the community and lawmakers for more support. And the Department of Transportation wants to hear from you about renovations to I-39-90-94. They're planning to renovate the interstate between State Highway 60 and County Highway CS. To weigh in, head to the DOT's website. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. The Hollywood Walk of Fame class for 2025 has been announced. According to Deadline.com, Jane Fonda, Colin Farrell, Jessica Chastain, and Emilio Estevez will all receive stars on the famous street in the Hollywood Hood. Those nominated by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce to receive their stars will have 2 years to accept the honor and have to shell out 75 G's to have it installed. Financing is not an option. 911's Ryan Guzman says J-Lo did a very ballsy thing before their intimate love scene in The Boy Next Door. The 36-year-old actor played opposite J-Lo in the steamy student-teacher thriller and says he learned a lot from Jenny on the set, like it's okay to wolf down pizza before filming an intimate love scene. Guzman told Jana Kramer on her Wind Down podcast that before a scene like that, most actors will only eat things like salad. Nothing is sexier between 2 actors going at it on screen than indigestion. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly clear tonight, a low in the mid-50s. And a mix of sun and clouds for tomorrow, highs in the mid-70s. Showers and storms Thursday night and Friday, highs again mid-70s. Nice weekend ahead, mostly sunny, high upper 70s Saturday, low 70s Sunday. Right now we're at 83 degrees.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration. With 18 southeastern Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thunder snaps to 500-gram aerials, Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheers to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for a location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chad's Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free, you're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
Todd Albaugh.
Hey, everybody, join us next time as we get you ready for the presidential debate. Biden v. Trump. Everything you want to know right here. Join us.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a whopper of the Wednesday edition. I've been getting informed about news and sports on the text line, Dom. Crute, Brewers win. 6-5 in the 10th. Brewers
Ooh,
win.
Nice.
Thank you for that update, Steady Eddie. I was unaware until I saw it on the text line. Here's a little bit more. What medication do Republicans suggest we give our loved ones with dementia to make them sharp again?
That's
that
a great
drug
question.
doesn't exist, idiots.
No, it's an experimental cocktail. I mean, that's why he's at Camp David doing all the practicing there, seeing what they should, still working on the formula. It's like Coke, it's secret.
Andrew from Verona says, sorry, Joe. I think he's talking to Joe Walsh. Sorry, Joe, but Trump is not just an a-hole. He's an old, fat a-hole. One Big Mac away from the big one. Don't give me that crap about Joe being too old. Okay, Jeff from Sherwood's got an interesting question. How did Wanker win the recall? Question for you from the audience, Dom. How did Wanker win the recall? How did Scott Walker win the recall in the state of Wisconsin? How do you think that was feasible?
Well, I think he got more votes than Tom Barrett.
Well, thank you for that obvious answer. But how do you think it was feasible that Scott Walker got more votes than Tom Barrett? Lived through the Act 10, the bomb he dropped on the state and the people of Wisconsin.
His policy decisions were not criminal. There was a political move by Scott Walker and the Republicans.
There was plenty of alleged criminality against the man, right? That was the whole underlying John Doe.
Not at the time, Crute. Not at that time. That was not public information at that time. So while as time went on, we certainly become aware of that. During that time, there was no allegation of criminality by Scott Walker. Was that certainly he maybe misled the voters? He put forward some legislation the Republicans wanted that a lot of people didn't want, but that in and of itself wasn't criminal. And therefore, I think a lot of people decided that, well, that's not worthy of impeachment. Like, I don't know, coordinating with third-party groups to get, consistent messaging across individual donors from outside your campaign and your campaign itself, things like that.
Well, that and a sweetheart real estate deal at Big Blue and some other things. And let's not forget county executive Scott Walker's entire his campaign staff was his county executive staff, right? Because
yes,
campaigning at the county executive's office, and that was known. That was known, right? Tim Russell went to jail. Few others, Cindy Archer, some pre-dawn paramilitary raids, Tom. That was not known information in June.
I don't believe so. That's
Scott Walker's campaign office was raided the day he was elected governor.
I understand that. Was that public knowledge, Crute? Did Chisholm go public with that knowledge? You said yourself.
Chisholm never went public with that knowledge.
Right. It would have killed him. It would have crushed him on the recall, right? Hey, he's also under investigation. Chisholm didn't do that. So no, it wasn't public knowledge, man.
I think it was in the reporting, similar perhaps to this circumstance we find with Donald Trump. There's plenty of reporting of the illegality, the criminality of the conduct of Scott Walker when he was the governor. But never got tried, never got charged. Not before the recall. And what did the people of the state of Wisconsin decide to do? Give him more votes, right? The very obvious answer I got from you, give him more votes. Can you see where this might play out again? That maybe they don't put the gravity behind the weight of the hush money to a porn star.
It's a terrible analogy. The guy's actually been convicted of 34 felony counts. Scott Walker was never even charged.
And he raised $141 million off of that.
Yeah.
And brought the financial campaign basically even, because Joe Biden had a huge financial advantage over the Trump campaign. But the conviction actually helped Trump catch up $140 million worth. And above and beyond that, the enthusiasm gap, whether or not you believe the Marquette University Law School polling, every indication is the Republican base is way more fired up than the Democratic base. The enthusiasm to vote.
Yes.
And so much of that has been inspired by the conviction at the hush money trial. So you can say conviction, and you can argue about the evidence.
Hey, let me just lay something out here, Crute. Number one, all those things are absolutely irrelevant to the administration of justice. You go forward with those when you're ready to go to trial. It's not about politics. It's not about how much Trump's going to make or not going to make, or what the enthusiasm is going to be or not going to be. Right? They went forward with their case when the trial is. If they would have paused it because they don't want to give Trump a benefit, or if they would have paused it because they don't want to harm Trump, those were political moves. You go to trial when you're ready to go to trial. It has nothing to do, it should not have anything to do with whether or not Donald Trump can raise money or not off of it, whether or not his voters are going to be enthused and fired up about it or not. That's irrelevant to the administration of justice, man. So if that's the consequence, so what? What's the option?
What is the administration of justice that we've seen so far? He's got a negative title, which doesn't seemingly weigh him down, and in fact enhances his fundraising.
But not gone forward with the trial, Crute, until after the election. I mean,
I'm not sure if I would have gone forward with the trial, period. If I were Alvin Bragg, just like I don't know if I would have gone forward with the trial of Hunter Biden.
Convicted of 34 felony counts, and you're saying because of political reasons that maybe you would have held on to it. And I think that's a terrible.
I didn't say
idea.
For political reasons.
What would your other reason be, Michael? He was convicted.
Judicial prudence. Prosecutorial discretion is the word I was looking for. I would have chosen not to charge when there are much more serious and grave issues facing the American people and allegations against the man. I wouldn't have rushed.
Not in Alvin Bragg's jurisdiction, there weren't. I mean, This is a local DA, man. He decides what he's going to do. Fawny Willis decide what they're going to do.
Okay, but just stop telling me what a great thing it was for America that this conviction has happened, because electorally, it seemingly is catapulting the guy back to re-election. So if this trial helps Trump win re-election and he gets, a slap on the wrist and maybe 30 days of Mar-a-Lago? Because once the sentencing comes down, dude, that's just going to exacerbate this circumstance even worse.
Yeah.
If it was a political trial
your idea is to have prosecutorial discretion and do nothing.
I didn't say do nothing. I say bring the real charges, the real crimes.
What would Alvin Bragg have done? Nothing. Okay, so who then? Merrick Garland, you want to go back in the time machine and start charging 12 or 18 months ago? Okay, can't do that. So there is no other option other than to move forward, Crute. I mean, as soon as Alvin Bragg laid these things out, this was the path we were on. There was always a risk that, will it fire up his? Yeah, maybe it will. Will it make him more money? Yeah, maybe. Well, we're still, 4 or 5 months out. We'll see how it pans out. But I'm fine with it the way it is. And damn the torpedoes, man. The guy did the crime. He's going to get his conviction. He got the conviction. And the sentencing will come down in a couple of weeks. And that will be where we're at. Like everybody else, like you, like me, like Rich, like our audience, man. That's how it works.
This was exactly how any other American citizen would have faced justice in New York. Any other citizen.
No, he'd have been locked up the first time he broke the gag order. But,
Sure, right. So it wasn't the same as any other citizen would have gotten. And ultimately, Dom, the Senate handed down.
Yes, of course he did. Yeah, rich white guy slacking the judicial system. Thank you for the note, Crute.
Well, former presidents certainly seemingly do. So anyways, this decision, is it a great thing that he's been convicted? I like labeling him a felon. I don't mind it. But I am less convinced than perhaps you are, my friend, that this has the gravity on the electorate. I am worried about the court of the public opinion. I am worried about fascism taking over the White House again and not giving it back next time, ever.
You're worried about whether or not the conviction will rile up his voters in some way, shape, or form. You've already kind of gone to fascism, man. You start making political decisions.
I don't think I would have taken misdemeanors and tried to extend them to felonies and then found a way to do so through, this was a novel approach, and great on Alvin Bragg that he pulled it off successfully. But to what end? That's my question. 844-967-2789. Our pal Jeannie from Eau Claire. Welcome back, Jeannie. How you doing, sister?
Hey, Jeannie.
Hi, guys. I have to tell you, a crime is a crime is a crime. They couldn't do anything to poor little Donnie when he was in office, when he was pulling all the stuff with Russia and, the things that went on then. And so, oh no, You can't charge the president. Well, he ain't the president anymore, and he needs to get charged with every gall darn crime, and I don't care if it's election or not. He shouldn't even be running. He's a crazy man, and people that are idiot enough to vote for a criminal like that have to have their heads examined, and we'll get what we deserve. That's why we got to get the word out and keep fighting back. So keep it up, guys. I'm so glad you're there. Thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate it.
Jeannie,
you have a good evening.
Well, thank you. But let me point out, I think my guy Bernie Sanders is coming up to your neck of the woods as soon as Friday, maybe.
Huh?
Yeah, I think Bernie's coming up on Friday, perhaps. I saw he was going to be at Stevens Point, and then he's moving on to like the Eau Claire, Chippewa Valley area. Are
they going to do an interview with you? I hope that would be wonderful.
Well, I don't know about that. PBS is coming to our party tomorrow night. The one of the shows is coming to the Barrymore Theater to kind of get a sense of the crowd and the fun party, the pre-debate party. But no, Bernie will probably be more important. Bernie will probably get the interview at the Bernie rally, not Crute.
Well, I would love to have you guys have him be on your show. That would be so great.
I would love to get Bernie. See, I thought that was a different question you were asking, Jeannie. Like, why aren't they interviewing Crute? Well,
I thought Crute could interview Bernie.
There we go.
We've had Bernie. Bernie's been on the show. Jeannie, thanks for calling. 844-967-2789. Been too long. You know, our pal John Nichols wrote a book with the man. You think he could hook us up? Let's keep going. Joe from Madison, you're next. Welcome.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, Crute. I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't matter. The evidence you said was not convincing. People will look at this and say it's not convincing. It doesn't matter. 12 jurors were convinced. That's all that matters. And they were convinced.
I admire those
34 charges.
I admire those that served on the jury. I admire those that did their civic duty. But ultimately, it is about democracy, I think, about, winning the White House. And if Trump wins the White House because he was propelled by this, and it seems so strange to think the guy's doing better because he's 34 times convicted. But apparently the court of public opinion says these were not real crimes, not in the same way that I think the insurrection was. But your thoughts, Joe?
I think we can't take a poll of the United States and say that that's justice. We have to do justice in a courtroom, and that's all that we have to rely on. If we feel that fascism is walking down the street and heading on to the White House in the form of Donald Trump, that is a whole nother discussion about how one tackles that, because it was not just paying off a porn star. It was paying off a porn star to shut up about their liaison. It was using fraud and lying and stealing in order to make sure that that porn star didn't talk before the election. And that is about our election, and nothing is more sacred. It is mafioso to try to bust up an election. It is wrong, and what those jurors did was the right decision, and it was the right decision because 34 times they said, yes, he broke the law. I hear what you're saying, Crute, but we got to just keep going forward on showing the difference between the candidates. And if he's getting a buzz now, the election's a ways away, okay? And we don't know what the charges are going to be in terms of the sentencing. So let's look at that and then go from there. Thanks, Crute.
Well, thank you. No, thanks for Dom.
I think she was speaking for me a little bit. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it, as always.
Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. I never speak for you, Dom.
Thank you. Nor I
occasionally speak over you, through you, around you, but never for you.
At me, but not for me.
I do like to put words in your mouth. Yeah. Mostly made up words. Gobbledygook. But it's very hard for the audience to discern the difference. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. No gobbledygook allowed. 844-967-2789.
MDX, Madison's home for nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Darcy Hamer, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Crute, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values, environmental
environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always.
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
This is Chad Spade for Chad's Design Build. We're proud to employ some of the best carpenters and remodeling professionals in our industry. Are you honest and hardworking? Do you love to improve people's lives by improving their homes? Chad's Design Build offers excellent compensation and benefits focused on outstanding customer service, professional design, construction management, and craftsmanship, all in a nurturing, positive workplace. Whether you're thinking about remodeling your home or considering joining our team, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chad's Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free, you're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
Covering all the news that affects you with humor and a unique perspective. Matinaire on Air with Jane Matinaire. Weekdays 11 till noon on the talk you can't ignore. Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX and on the Civic Media app.
Looking for a roundup of the day's important headlines in quick podcast form? Search no more. Find it now on the WMDX website at mad.radio. Your news just for the Madison area. I'm Terry Bell with WMDX News.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Yeah, thank you for listening to Devil's Advocates Radio. Still phone lines open, going there shortly at 844-967-2789. You got to make sure you stick around for the happier hour. Our pal Bill Press going to roll in at 5 o'clock. And Charles Franklin going to go behind the numbers on the New Marquette University Law School poll at 5:30. So get your calls in and text in right now, 844-96-PARTY.
Dom, I'm checking the text line. Annie from Watertown trying to chastise me. I'm not taking it, Annie. Jeez. People think the crime was paying off the porn star. Maybe because you keep saying it. It was the lonely campaign law that was passed to protect democracy. That's not true, though. That was not what the conviction was for. And in fact, that might have been one of the laws broken that would ratchet up the misdemeanor cook in the books from a misdemeanor to a felony.
The enhancer, yes.
The enhancer. But he wasn't charged with breaking campaign finance laws. He was charged with cooking the books. And he was convicted, but that ain't the same. So if I'm talking about the payoff of the porn star, because that was effectively what was alleged to have been the violation of campaign finance law that kicked the enhancer up. But he was not charged with breaking campaign finance laws. Sort of put it out there in the ether, but they never really clarified. Here is another texter. For those of us dealing with parents' dementia, like today, it's offensive what they're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
right.
also from Annie, I believe. Mm-hmm. I am sure someone will call as well. Democrats need to stay on message. Trump wasn't convicted of paying off a porn actress, morally repugnant, but the crime was falsifying business records. Kenneth from Stoughton, at least you're right on the crime. That is true. That is what he was convicted of. Now, a few point out, the vast majority of Trump's donations come from just a handful of billionaires. It's not like he's getting some massive grassroots donations. Of the $141 million he raised after the conviction, it was grassroots. It was under $200 per donor. He's getting it from people who do not want their taxes increased, period. That might be true of a super PAC, but every individual donor giving to a presidential campaign has the same campaign finance limits that we all do. They get around by giving it to Save America PAC and the different PACs. So the billionaires certainly do support the man. But the $141 million raised, that was from individual small dollar donors primarily, just so you know.
Well,
that is a sign of enthusiasm.
Let's see here. 844-967-2789. Billionaire donor Timothy Mellon, the largest donor to the PAC supporting Trump and independent candidate Kennedy, an heir to the Mellon family empire, donated $50 million to Mega Inc., the primary super PAC supporting Trump, on the day after his conviction.
So 50 of the 141 million is one individual. Is that factored into the math?
That would be my assumption of what I'm seeing here. Yes.
That was not my assumption because I've seen it represented differently, but I'll look it up. 844-967-2789. Matt from Johnson's Creek. Welcome, Matt. What do you got for us?
Hello, Matt.
Hey guys, Crute, I get you're worried, and this would be a good question for Dr. Franklin. That is enthusiasm really what's going to win him, or is it going to be bringing people in? Because these last two elections, and I'm sure this one will be the same, have been decided by less than 100,000 votes, right? I get that his base is enthused and is ready to go out and sure send him $200 here and there. But is it really going to bring in the people that he needs, the people that weren't already going to vote for him? That's why I'm not as concerned that, the MAGA masses are all up in arms and super excited to defend their guy at the ballot box because they were already going to do that.
Yeah, but a lot of the
34 convictions.
Matt, here is my theory, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm sometimes right. The low propensity voters here in the state of Wisconsin actually started with Scott Walker's recall. People were apparently outraged. They didn't think there was justification to recall the governor because there were no criminal charges. I tried to make this analogy prior. Dom didn't like it. But it was low propensity voters, people that don't usually come out and vote. And they jumped on the Trump bandwagon in 2016. A lot of outstate people that don't usually vote came out and said, let's try this outside guy, this Trump guy. Now, there was certainly a revolt in 2020. We all saw it. Joe Biden won the state by about the same margin, like 21,000 votes. But the enthusiasm for not Trump has sort of waned. Like the enthusiasm on the Democratic side, people are going to vote for Biden. I'm going to vote for Biden. Dom's going to vote for Biden, even if he's in a jar, he keeps claiming. We're going to vote for Biden, but that doesn't mean we're enthusiastic about it. And the low propensity, lean dim, I'll vote dim if, the weather's nice and I don't have too much traffic on election day. Well, I am less convinced that the low propensity Dems are lining up for Biden, and I am far more convinced that the low propensity Republicans are lining up for Trump. That's what the convictions changed. That's my fear.
I'm not sure that there are those low propensity Republicans anymore. He's not an outsider anymore. These are known commodities. I just don't see how this changes anything.
Fair enough, man.
Matt's saying that the low propensity voter is no longer low propensity. They've now become full on mega supportive. So maybe they've gone to that well already.
Well, I'm less clear that they came out and voted for Trump in 20, right? We heard Ron Johnson describe the math. 51,000 undervotes on Wisconsin ballots. People that voted down ticket for Republicans, but didn't vote at the top of the ticket for Trump, right? Ron Johnson told us the math. That's why Biden won. Although he was still more than supportive of the January 6th activities. The coup, if you will. Talking about putting someone's balls to the wall, I hope. There are some indictments against that man coming. We got fine guests coming, including Bill Press, our buddy, next.
Decisions.
Join us first thing in the morning.
Weekday mornings 6 until 8 on Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX.
Seems like summer has just begun, but now is the time to plan for snow removal. Call Go Landscaping today to bid for fall. Wisconsin got lucky last winter. It won't be El Nino mild every year. Call Go Landscaping now and secure a bid for next winter's snow removal from the dependable professionals at Go Landscaping. 608-808-8282.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. It's now just one day till the first debate between President Biden and former President Trump in Atlanta. The Supreme Court appears ready to allow emergency abortions in Idaho when a pregnant woman's health is at risk as a legal case plays out. A notice about the ruling was briefly on the court's website today, then taken down, says Bloomberg News. ABC's Terry Moran.
This looks like a term paper. This was supposed to be released maybe tomorrow or Friday, but for some reason, somebody at the court, just for a few minutes, they put it on the court's website and everybody could grab it.
President Biden's new restrictions on asylum at the southern border, rolled out 3 weeks ago, has decreased encounters there by 40%, says the Biden administration. It says 24,000 people will return to their home countries. The TSA expects to screen over 32 million people at airports from this Thursday through Monday, July 8th. It anticipates the peak travel day will be this Friday. This is ABC News.
This news report is sponsored by Wisconsin Capital Management, LLC, serving their clients for 40 years. Visit wiscap.com. Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. The Wisconsin Supreme Court will hear Planned Parenthood's lawsuit that asks the court to declare that access to abortion is a right protected by the Wisconsin Constitution. WisPolitics reports anti-abortion groups will not be allowed to intervene, but they will be allowed to file a brief opposing the lawsuit. The first presidential debate is tomorrow night. Lynn Carey is a retired nurse in Germantown who's had a double lung transplant, but she says she's listening to hear what the candidates say about reproductive care.
We have all heard the stories of what happens when there is not access to appropriate care. The results we're seeing, the impact of the Dobbs decision must be addressed.
Civic Media's debate coverage starts tomorrow night at 7:30 on many of these stations. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Remember last year when farmers were struggling in the drought? Well, this summer they have the total opposite problem. So far, we've had double the rain. John Lutz, a Dane County farmer, tells the State Journal berry season started a full week early, but now they really need a break so the ground can soak up all this moisture. Scientists say as climate change worsens, so will these extreme fluctuations from year to year. And we're wrapping up Pride Month. The LGBTQ community faces so many challenges because of discrimination and misunderstanding. That can make getting proper treatment in healthcare tougher and more stressful. As virus doctor Saba Khan says, providers need to be open and ask questions.
Communication is a big part of gaining the trust within the LGBTQ community and making sure that you're addressing them by their appropriate pronouns and not assuming.
She advises finding a provider you trust and feel comfortable with. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
Hi there, Bill.
Hey, hello.
All right. I'm Rich, the producer. We've never met. So,
I'm all set.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I will. Well, they will join you in a little over 3 minutes, I guess.
All right. What are you doing? News now or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
All right.
I'm just doing some work here at the computer.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Okay. Hang out, and we'll come to you. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
You bet.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, hi Don. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Just great. Just
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, man. It's been a while.
Great. It has been too long. I don't know where you been.
Summertime, man. Time goes by fast.
Yep.
All right, 30 seconds.
All right. Hi, Crute. Crute has is muted.
Yeah, he's on the board.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Yes, yeah, as soon as you turn on, we'll hear him.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, a whopper of a Wednesday debate eve happy hour. And Dom, it gets better right now. We got a fine guest who joins us live via stream. He's a podcaster. He's a pundit. He's a friend of ours. Bill Press. Welcome back, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, guys. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's been a while. Been too long.
Well, no time like the present.
Good to be back.
Welcome back, Bill. So very excited about the presidential debate. You know, buddy, I was scheming to bring you back to Madison. You know, last time you were here, we partied, cowboy. And we were hopeful to put some event on at the Barrymore Theater, and then this presidential debate jumped down.
Yeah.
And Bill, I didn't want to invite you out because I couldn't predict whether or not the debate was actually going to happen. Here we are, 24 hours away. Bill, what do you lay the odds that Trump will show up for tomorrow night's debate?
Oh, I think he'll show up, but you know, listen. I've already written my column about it. Biden won the debate. I mean, this is so crazy. I mean, you can tell there's no other news going on because for a week, all there has been all this speculation about what they're going to talk about, what they're preparing, how they're preparing, who's going to raise what issue. Is Biden taking drugs? You know, is Trump already taking? I mean, it's been insane. And I just think we have to sort of, you know, chill a little bit, right? And remember, first of all, not everything's going to be decided by tomorrow night's debate, no matter what happens. I remember, let me see now, 2012, right? Barack Obama lost the first debate. He was president of the United States. He lost the first debate to Mitt Romney. Everybody agreed. Even the Obama people agreed, right? But every time, and then the other thing is people always underestimate Joe Biden. You know, remember George W. Bush complained that they misrepresented me? Nobody's been misrepresented as much as Joe Biden. And he always delivers the State of the Union. Everybody was like, oh, God, this is terrible, man. He's going to fall off the stage. He won't be able to make it up to the stage. He's going to drool, you know. He's got to be. I mean, yeah, he knocked it out of the park, right? And the last debate with Trump, that one line, what do we remember? Hey, man, shut up. Or just shut up, man. Some version of that, right? All he's got to do is get one of those out there. Biden, he knows there's a lot at stake here, and a lot of people are going to be watching. He's really putting in a lot of work on it. I think he's going to do a great job. And Donald Trump, I believe, is going to make an ass of himself, which, of course, is easy for him to do. But I think he walked into a trap, guys. He walked into a trap. He was so determined and eager to have a debate. Number one, he agreed to have it on CNN. It shows how desperate he is. And number two, he agreed to have his mic muted when it's not his turn to speak. I mean, he's walked into a trap there because you know damn well, I'll bet you money right now, Donald Trump is not going to shut up when the mic goes off. He'll still keep screaming and hollering and interrupting and making points and making a total ass of himself, right? And as if that's not bad enough, even before the debate starts, he's been attacking CNN and attacking Jake Tapper and attacking Dana Bash before they even ask one question, right? Oh, tell me. It'll be worth the price of admission, man.
Which is free.
Yeah.
Bill, will this be a highbrow policy debate, or will it be who can go lower quicker with, a shot to the nards?
Well, first of all, a highbrow policy debate. Crute. Donald Trump is on stage, right? So that question answers itself.
Will tonight be the night he's presidential, Bill? Tomorrow night, but of course that's a rhetorical question, sir.
Put it this way. First of all, I want to be sure I don't give any idea that I have an inside line to Camp David. Okay, I don't, right? But I think what we've seen from the Biden camp in the last couple of weeks is they're not going to be Mr. Nice Guy. They're going to lay it all out there. Number one, you're a convicted felon, dude. Look at the last ad that the Biden campaign put out there. It was all about the fact this is a convicted felon. Those words are powerful words, and he is a convicted felon. You're a convicted felon. You wouldn't even be able I think Biden's going to raise that right at the very top. You wouldn't even be able to vote for yourself in a lot of states in this country with that record you've got, all right? So what the hell are you doing up on stage? Yeah, like number one. Number two, there's January 6th, Donald Trump. We're not going to let you forget it. The United States Capitol was on fire, and you set the torch. You lit the match. You sent the crowd there to set the United States Capitol on fire. Number three, Donald Trump, the women of this country have had a massive setback in their basic freedoms, not just for abortion, but their basic freedoms to control their own lives. And it's all yours, baby. Dobbs' decision is yours. You own it. You bragged about it. And we want to remind everybody who's in charge. And then I think that the fourth thing is Ukraine. Hey, I'm here against Vladimir Putin. You are on this stage supporting Vladimir Putin. That's what it really comes down to. Who's fighting for America and who's fighting for Russia? Who's for Putin? Who's for the United States of America? And I think Joe Biden is going to be very strong on all four of those points, plus more. And he gets those points out there, it's all over.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. That's our pal, Bill Press. You can find him on Twitter at Bill Press Pod. Bill, always a pleasure. Love it when you come around. Before you came on, Marquette University Law School polling, our pal Charles Franklin coming on at 5:30. The enthusiasm gap is a big issue right now. And Crute and I were talking about, seemingly after Donald Trump was convicted of those 34 felonies, the enthusiasm for him from MAGA went up. His fundraising went up. Do you think this is going to continue and be a drag against the Biden campaign as we move towards November?
Well, no, I don't. First of all, July 17 is a day I'm looking forward to. That's the day that the judge is going to come out with a sentence for 34 felonies. I don't think Donald Trump's going to jail. I think he should. But anybody else would. Any other defendant found guilty of 34 felonies would be
presumably, right?
Be spending some time in jail, right? Donald Trump won't, but Judge Merchan is not going to just give him a slap on the wrist. I think there'll be some maybe home confinement, or he's going to have to wear an ankle bracelet, right?
That's still a slap on the wrist.
Well, it all builds up. It all adds up. He's a convicted felon who can't leave Mar-a-Lago, right?
July 11th is the sentencing bill.
11th. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 11th. But the following week, and perhaps what you have in mind, after the July 11th, the July 22nd, I believe we got what? The 15th through the 17th, we got the RNC coming to Milwaukee. I mean, if he gets convicted, if he gets home confinement, can he go? Is he going to have to wear an ankle bracelet when he's rolling around Milwaukee? What's your thought there?
No, I think both are possible. I think it's possible Donald Trump may not be able to attend his own convention. I think it's possible that Donald Trump may give his acceptance speech wearing an ankle bracelet, right?
And what do you think that does to the enthusiasm to the mega crowd? You know, knowing that now it's not just the conviction. Now the sentence will be known by then. Bill, does that enhance their enthusiasm?
What does it do for the MAGA crowd? It does nothing except, as you indicate, build their enthusiasm. But, you know, I'm tired of worrying about the MAGA crowd. The MAGA crowd, they're nuts. They are totally, I don't care what you want to call them. They're insane. Really. I mean, this is a religious cult, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing that Donald Trump could say or do that would turn them against him. Nothing. So we got to give that's 30% of the American electorate, sadly. Just forget about it, right? But for the people in the middle, right? There are too many decent people in this country. I still have faith in them, that they know that out of the 360 million Americans, the Republican Party should be able to come up with somebody who does not have a criminal record to run for president. You know, and I think they're the people who will be impacted, yes, by the by whatever sentence he gets, and also by continuing court cases. I mean, it's still not impossible that one of these cases, depending on what the Supreme Court does later this week or next week, that one of these other cases may come along, and he could be up to 60 felony convictions by the time of the election, not by the time of the convention.
Bill, that would be a whole different argument. That supposes that the U.S. Supreme Court's not going to extend him immunity, and B, it presupposes that they're not going to send it down to the district court in a direct effort to basically run out the clock for the guy, give him immunity if he wins re-election, because I suspect he would dismiss his charges.
Well, no, he'll appeal it, and the appeal won't be heard before the end of the year. But I'll come back to the enthusiasm thing. A couple of points. First of all, again, why I don't buy that is poll after poll after poll has shown that the impact of 34 convictions has had more of a negative impact against Trump, not with his base again, but with ordinary voters, with moderate Republicans, with independents. In the latest political poll, 21% of independents said they're less likely to vote for Trump because he's a convicted felon now. That's huge. I talked to Rick Wilson this week with the Lincoln Project, right? Talk about the enthusiasm gap. What he said in the pollings that they've done, the focus groups, that's the word I was looking for, that they've done across the country, the number one issue among women is Dobbs, because they see it as a threat to their freedom, not just their ability to have an abortion, the threat to their freedom to be whom they want to be as Americans. That's an enthusiasm gap, anti-Trump, which we have to put in consideration as well.
The enthusiastic Bill Press returns after this short break. More Devils.
In accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
For the Love of Democracy tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th, for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Meg Dunn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door. Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com. Code Devil Radio.
Welcome on 15. How you doing? Great. Were you wearing your seatbelt today? I never wear my seatbelt. Get him real good. Oh my God. How you doing? Donald Driver. It takes 1 second to strap a seatbelt. Well, let's do this. Let's do it together. Now, don't that feel better?
Donald Driver can't always be there to remind you.
Click it or take it.
And let's reduce fatalities on Wisconsin roadways.
Man, I should have recognized your voice when you're harassing. I'm watching you.
Sponsored by Wisconsin DOT.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Devil's Advocates radio show. Bill Press, our pal. He's a podcaster. He's a pundit. He's a prognosticator. He's a friend of ours. Sticking around for another segment. Find him on Twitter at Bill Press Pod. Bill, we had Joe Walsh on, conservative, earlier in the show, and I know you had mentioned for your podcast you interviewed Rick Wilson. He's conservatives, and he says that they're trying to hold Republicans into being true to the philosophy they used to hold: the rule of law, personal responsibility, fiscal responsibility, personal integrity. And I'm down with that, man. Bill, but did they really hold them if they discount and throw them aside so quickly for the access to power and a guy like Donald Trump? Can you say that they held them, or was it just a ruse the whole time, in your opinion, sir?
Well, first of all, I think one of the most interesting things happening in this 2024, as was in 2020 and in 2022, are the efforts by certified Republicans, right?
Yeah.
People you cannot doubt their credentials, like Joe Walsh, like Rick Wilson, and others, Bill Kristol. Their efforts to persuade Republicans that Donald Trump is a danger to the Republican Party. He's a danger to the Republic. He is antithetical to everything they've ever stood for, believed, fought for, and achieved. And they cannot vote for him. And they have to. And so their goal is, I'll get back to what Rick Wilson said. They believe that there's anywhere between 7% and 20% of Republicans, particularly a lot of women, a lot of Republicans in the suburbs, right? No MAGA people. These are not MAGA people,
right,
who can be persuaded, A, not to vote for Donald Trump, or B, even to vote for Joe Biden. And they will take either alternative. And if they can achieve that, they can decide this election. This election could be close enough that could decide it. Hey, guys, I want to go back to the debate for just a second.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Okay. Everybody's wondering, everybody's got ideas about what Jake Tapper and Dana Bash ought to do, like where they ought to start, right? Okay. Here's mine. I want to share with you. Here's
All
mine.
right.
Number one for Donald Trump, Mr. President, or Miss Donald, whatever they call him, right? Do you support the new Louisiana law to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom?
Yes.
Of course, he'll say, yippee, whoa, whoa, it's a great idea, right? Okay. Follow up, Mr. President, could you, because not all of our listeners, our viewers may remember exactly what the 10 Commandments are. Could you name the 10 Commandments for us?
There's so many good ones.
Yeah,
they're all the best.
All right.
They're my favorites. They're all very good.
And now, all right. And then he's going to say, well, we obviously can't name them all. Okay, Mr. President, I will name them. I will read them for you one by one. And you tell us which ones you have obeyed, right? Maybe 1 out of 10. I saw the other night, he's up in Philadelphia, and he's saying this is a great idea. He's saying, like, thou shalt not steal. What's wrong with that? Hey, yeah, how about number 6, Donald? Thou shalt not commit adultery. He didn't mention that one. How about number 7? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Yeah, ask E. Jean Carroll about that.
Yeah, right.
$94 million for defaming her, right? Yeah, I mean, you can go down the list. It is such a joke. I'd love to see that brought up in the debate. So,
Bill, how do we solve the U.S. Supreme Court and the partisanship that's entrenched there now? Obviously, I don't know if we've talked to you about Alito and Thomas, but it's become a problem, I would say, Bill. Is there a solution?
I pray for an early death for both of them.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow, Bill.
I mean, that would be a.
They are lifetime appointments, aren't they?
Well, unless they impeach him, which they're not going to do. Look, it's probably, I've said this for a long time. I think it's the number one reason to vote for president. And really, the only answer is you're going to have to get some of those people out of there, and Joe Biden's going to have to appoint some new ones, right? So it's got Clarence Thomas is the oldest, they're not going to step aside. So let's just hope. And then you got Alito, and then unfortunately Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and Barrett are young, right? So you just got to keep electing a Democratic president until they can turn that court around. This is right now. It's not the Roberts court anymore. It's the Alito court, flying the flag upside down and bragging about it and not stepping down. And he and Clarence Thomas ruling on the taking part in the January 6th rulings is outrageous, right? This court has become a political arm, I think, of the Republican National Committee.
Well, Bill, how many millions do you have to take in, I don't know, gifts or
right.
I'm not sure what the proper term is, charity from, I got a lot of rich friends. I mean, Clarence Thomas took over $4 million. Like the vast majority of the money given to the Supreme Court was specifically to Clarence Thomas.
Yeah. Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito together, I think, with all the money and all the stuff they've taken from these rich donors, have destroyed the reputation of the Supreme Court. And my big disappointment is that John Roberts, who is legitimately concerned about the reputation of the court, has not stood up and publicly condemned them and said, this is wrong. You should have reported it. You were wrong not to report it. And we're going to hold you. We have to have a code of ethics whereby you will be held responsible, and members of the court cannot do that. I think Roberts has lost a great opportunity here to save the reputation of the court. Last time I saw, they're below used car salesmen now in terms of people's trust. Yeah.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert won her primary, Bill. Jeez. Are you disappointed or excited to see Boebert in the fall?
I thought the people of Colorado had more sense, right? So she went to another district where she probably couldn't lose. Yeah, needless.
Well, she had like 5 opponents. She split the ticket. She got less than 50%, but that's what you get.
Yeah. No, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. There you go. This is the best people that the Republican Party has to put forward, right, for Congress. And then the best they can do is come up with a walking crime spree, a man with 34 convictions,
and counting,
to run for president of the United States. God forbid.
Bill, will you be drinking during the debate tomorrow night?
I hadn't thought about that. Well, first of all, the answer is yes. But but what's the word? There's a word, right? What's the word?
Yeah, what's the drinking game? I'm going to say
felony.
Rigged.
Bill Press, our friend. Thank you so much, Bill. Stick around. We got a fine guest coming next. He is Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire. Easy for me to say. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Right, guys. See you later. Good debate. Have a good debate.
Radio WMDX, Madison's home for the Todd Albaugh Show.
This report is brought to you by Freedom Fireworks, with 18 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Go to freedomfireworkswi.com.
Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. 17 people have died in ATV and UTV crashes in Wisconsin so far this year. The Department of Natural Resources says most of the victims were not wearing seat belts or helmets. Many of them had been drinking, too. A lot of people are expected to take to the roads and trails on the long 4th of July weekend. All the storms Wisconsin's been getting means flooded basements and damaged roofs and siding. Bao Bang is with the Better Business Bureau. She says they're there to help you find reputable contractors.
We can help you look online, find reputable companies, those that have been doing great business with other customers.
Bang recommends making sure you know what your insurance covers first. She says you're best off hiring local accredited contractors. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. We've never really seen anything like this. Leaders of more than 30 local food pantries came together to tell lawmakers in the community they need more help. Food insecurity just keeps growing in Dane County. Ellen Carlson from Way Forward Resources.
Our clients are everyone. People that you see every day. They are families, they are households, they're individuals, seniors. They are people who are working in our communities. Hunger is everywhere.
They're asking people to host food drives, share information on social media, and call on their elected officials and say they need more support for food pantries. And family and friends of famed Madison conservationist Aldo Leopold got to visit his former home on Van Nuys Avenue yesterday. WMTV reports friends talked of time with Leopold and his wife Estella. They say she ran that.
Hi there, Charles.
Hey, Rich. How things?
All right. All right. We're all together. All good? Okay.
I've got good audio.
All right. Sounds good. All right.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Inside Out 2 has made $724 million worldwide in just 11 days. The Disney Pixar film just passed Dune 2 as the highest grossing film of the year so far and has given the summer box office major momentum as theaters prepare for other hopeful blockbusters like A Quiet Place Day 1, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Despicable Me 4. We'll see if the momentum keeps rolling. Scarlett Johansson would have been happy to have been eaten by a fake dinosaur, that is. The 39-year-old Oscar-nominated actress told comicbook.com that she has wanted to be part of the Jurassic franchise forever and has now finally landed a starring role in Jurassic World. Johansson says the first Jurassic Park was one of the first films she ever saw in theaters and changed her life. Johansson says she'd be willing to die in the first 5 minutes, get eaten by whatever, do craft services, and says she'll do anything for it. That's called not exactly giving your agent firepower at the negotiating table. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected locally across the Civic Media Network.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly clear tonight, a low in the mid-50s. And a mix of sun and clouds for tomorrow, highs in the mid-70s. Showers and storms Thursday night and Friday, highs again mid-70s. Next weekend ahead, mostly sunny, high upper 70s Saturday, low 70s Sunday. It's 82 right now.
It's that time of year again. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and Freedom Fireworks has everything your family needs for a safe and exciting holiday celebration. With 18 southeastern Wisconsin locations fully stocked up with everything from sparklers to artillery shells, thunder snaps to 500-gram aerials, Freedom Fireworks guarantees to bring smiles and cheers to every backyard celebration. For fireworks from all the top brands and specials that can't be beat, go to freedomfireworkswi.com for a location near you. Freedom Fireworks wishes you a safe and happy 4th of July.
This is Chad Spade. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we preach. At Chad's Design Build, we confront injustice the same way we confront a poorly built home, with love, compassion, intelligence, and persistence. We engage our community the way we engage our clients, with honesty and humility and the dogged determination that we can do better. Chad's Design Build, remodeling done well with love.
Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, we will talk all things sports with the Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan and a little weather update. It's weather and wine.
If you don't like who's in there, vote them out.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a hump day, happy hour rolling through it. Thank you to our last fine guest, Bill Press, podcaster, pundit, friend of ours. Thank you, Bill. And welcome to our new guest, a friend of ours. He is a pollster extraordinaire from the Marquette University Law School poll. He's our pal, Charles Franklin. Charles, thanks for reaching out. Thanks for joining us, man. New polling out.
Hey,
Always good to be with you guys.
Thank you.
So, Charles, I've got a very important question. You might not find it to be as such, but it's important to me. Charles, did your outfit have any part in the Eric Hudvey porn mustache polling? I have a suspicion he might have oversampled Republicans, Charles.
We have not asked any questions along those lines.
Let's start at the top of the ticket then. And I have my suspicion, Charles, but I'll let him pass. Trump, Biden, how the boys doing?
50-50, dead tie with registered voters. That's an improvement for Biden. Trump led by 2 points in our April poll, so it's moved to a tie. When you move to likely voters, Biden's up by 2, 51-49. And that reverses Trump's lead 51-49 in April. So all in all, this poll is generally better for Biden. The one exception is when you look at the multi-candidate race with Kennedy and the other third-party and independent candidates. There, Trump leads by 3 points over Biden this time. He only led by 1 point last time. And part of that is Robert Kennedy's vote has been dropping from 17% in January to 13% in April to just 8% now.
Oh, wow.
But as it's been dropping, Kennedy's not taking as many votes away from Republicans as he was earlier. And so Kennedy's decline actually helps Trump a little bit in that multi-candidate race against Biden.
Charles, let's talk about voter enthusiasm. There's a big gap right now between MAGA Republicans, my characterization, and Democrats. So who are the enthusiastic ones, Charles?
It's the Republicans, without doubt. If you look at people who are very enthusiastic about voting this fall, Trump leads with that group 61-39, a huge advantage for Trump. But for each of the less enthusiastic groups, Biden has the lead. So among somewhat enthusiastic, it's Biden 57, Trump 43. Not too enthusiastic, 58-41. And not at all enthusiastic, 65 for Biden, 33 for Trump. Part of the issue is also that people are less enthusiastic this year than they were 4 years ago. 46% overall said they were very enthusiastic in this poll. But 4 years ago, in June of 2020, it was 59%. And throughout the spring, it's been running about 20 percentage points lower this year than it was in 2020. The challenge for the Biden camp is just pretty obvious here, that if folks that like him but aren't that enthusiastic about it stay home, then that's a huge advantage for Trump. It's a challenge for the Biden campaign for either getting people more enthusiastic or getting them to the polls, even if they say they're not enthusiastic.
Charles, I know that Marquette University has been polling on the question of the convictions of Donald Trump. I would ask sort of a related question. Charles. Have you seen a upswing in enthusiasm post-conviction towards the Republicans? You say that's the engaged party has that spike since the conviction.
I don't think it's really gone up since the conviction. In our April poll, we saw the same thing. The more enthusiastic folks were more heavily for Trump, less enthusiastic, more for Biden. The gap has widened a little bit so that now Biden is winning those somewhat enthusiastic. He was slightly losing them in April. But I think Trump has about the same advantage with the very enthusiastic now as he had 2 months ago.
I guess I'm going to sneak one more. He's got sentencing coming up, and you actually polled the electorate on what they think the appropriate sentence for Donald Trump should be, Charles. What are people telling you, man? Should it?
Well,
30 years in prison? What are they saying?
Some think prison, but a lot don't. 27% say he should have no penalty at all. Now, put that in context. 36% say they don't think he was actually guilty. So that's where that 27% no penalty comes from. 12% think just a fine would be sufficient. 14% say probation without jail. But 36% say he should be sentenced to some jail time. And 10% throw up their hands and say, I don't know.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Charles Franklin, he's the director of the Marquette Law School poll. Thank you, Charles, for coming around. I was wondering if you could kind of help extrapolate for me this enthusiasm thing. Because I know, like, you poll registered voters and then you poll likely voters. And if you're a likely voter, does enthusiasm impact your likeliness of voting? I guess I'm unclear as to what I can extrapolate from that information.
And it does. The way we usually measure likely voters is those people who say they're absolutely certain they're going to vote. And of the people who are very enthusiastic, 98% say they're absolutely certain they're going to vote this fall. When you go to the somewhat enthusiastic, that drops to 87%.
Okay.
When you get to not too enthusiastic, it drops to 73%. And the not at all enthusiastic, all the way down to just 67% saying they're sure they'll vote. So you definitely see fewer and fewer what we would call likely voters as enthusiasm goes down. And back to the challenge for Biden, if his strongest supporters are the least enthusiastic and are less likely to vote, then that's a huge detriment to him. The one advantage he has is that despite what we just said, if you look at who voted in 2020 and 2022 and in primaries in 2020 and 2022, Democrats actually have a better track record of voting in all four of those elections than Republicans do. There are more Republicans who were voted in 2020 for Trump, but then dropped out of the electorate in 2022. And so there's this peculiar thing that Democrats have a record of having voted more often than Republicans, even if you look at that within level of enthusiasm. So high enthusiasm Democrats have actually voted more often than high enthusiasm Republicans. And the trouble is those Democrats that are just lower on enthusiasm, when we look to this fall, what does that say about their turnout, regardless of how often they voted in the past?
Charles, I have a question about low propensity voters. I think there were a number of people that sort of came out of the woodwork, let's just say, of northern Wisconsin, starting with the Scott Walker recall. Many of them voted again in 2016 for Trump. My question is, Charles, how do you measure whether the low propensity voters are feeling enthusiastic? Are they going to turn out this time? Are they staying home again? They're low propensity.
Well, they are low propensity. And this is actually the group that Trump has a turnout problem with, because he really did stimulate those voters. And I'd give Walker some credit back in the recall as well, as you just did. But then they drop out in 2022 when Trump's not on the ballot. He needs to get those people to show up. And some of that is enthusiasm. And, go to a Trump rally. There are very enthusiastic people at Trump rallies. But a lot of his supporters haven't developed the habit of voting in every election. He's really got to get them to turn out this time.
Charles, the Senate candidate favorability here. We talked about Eric Hovde's mustache. Apparently, he did his own polling. Charles, he's going to keep the mustache. I would question whether that's a great idea. But you questioned the poll. You did the polling on Hovde and Senator Tammy Baldwin. What did you find out, sir?
First of all, Baldwin is just barely net positive. 45% favorable, 44% unfavorable. That's a shade less than it was in April when it was 47-42. 11% say that they don't know enough about her to have an opinion. That's a little surprising given how long she's been in office, but it's often the case for senators, and includes Ron Johnson, with a lot of people don't know him. But when we look at Hovde, he's gotten better known. a year ago in June of last summer, 85% said they didn't know enough to have an opinion of him. In April, it had fallen to 56%. And this month, it's down to 44% without an opinion. So people are getting to know Hovde. And that rate of getting to know him is running more or less in line with what we saw in the 2022 elections, and for that matter, the 2018 elections. It takes a while for people to know these
And
candidates.
to be clear, Charles, these are Wisconsin likely and registered voters, not California voters.
Yes, your results might differ in California. But with Hovde, as he has gotten a little better known, he's actually become a little less liked. His favorable numbers did go up this last 2 months from 19 to 23% favorable, but his unfavorables went up twice as much, from 24 to 32%. And so his net favorability is now a -9 versus a -5 2 months ago. We'll see what happens. There's still so many people, 44%, that don't know him. There's still room for that to move around. And I don't know what the effect of mustache or no mustache may play in that. But there's a lot of time for people to learn. And I can guarantee you by November, the vast majority of voters will know both Hovde and Baldwin. Yeah. They just don't yet.
Charles, is it accurate to say, statistically, the least popular politician in the state of Wisconsin right now is recall Robin Voss?
Pretty close, except that an awful lot of people don't know Robin Voss. But the opinion of him is quite negative, and it's only slightly positive of Republicans statewide. Voss has a 14% favorable, 35 unfavorable for a net -21. But 50% say they haven't heard enough about him to have an opinion. And those numbers haven't moved very much over the last few months. It's, in one sense, it's crazy that the Speaker of the Assembly, one of the most important Republicans in the Capitol, arguably, half the public don't know who he is or don't have an opinion of him. But the fact is, he's elected from one small district, one of 99 assembly members, so he's never run statewide. So that's not surprising, even if you do sort of shake your head and say, shouldn't we know our powerful elected officials a little better than we do?
Charles Franklin, going inside the numbers. We appreciate it. New Marquette University Law School poll again. We left a little meat on the bone for tomorrow night at the Barrymore Theater. Charles, you've generously agreed to come be a part of the panel discussion, pre-presidential debate. Charles, first of all, what will you be drinking? Because I told you I owe you two. And will you have a debate word that if you hear it, you must drink?
Oh, my goodness. That could be very, very dangerous, don't you think? I'm looking forward to doing it. I appreciate your inviting me, and we'll probably get a seltzer water, but maybe after the debate, I might have something a little stronger.
Well, we will commiserate throughout. And one of the text line people said their drinking word, ding. Trump likes to say, ding, 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 ding. Charles Franklin, always love when you come around. Thank you so much, sir. We'll look forward to hosting you and a big bunch of people at the Barrymore Theater tomorrow.
Always good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We'll open up the phone lines. This political party rolls on with your calls. 844-967-2789.
If you don't like who's in there, we'll vote them out.
Madison's home for Nightlight with Pete Schwab.
Do you like Delta 8? It'd be cooler if you did. We proudly announce the Devil's Advocates have partnered with Herbal Aspect to bring your newest Delta 8 favorites, Devil's Gummies, exclusively at herbalaspect.com. Legal for consumption by adults, they may be mailed directly to your home. Always use Devil Radio at checkout to let Herbal Aspect know where you heard them. Order today for delivery. Devil's Gummies and Devil Radio exclusive specials only from herbalaspect.com, code Devil Radio.
Hey, Brad from Zero Res Madison here. What's the best way to clean your carpet? Well, not surprisingly, it's the same way you clean your clothes. You wouldn't clean a dirty shirt by running a white cloth over the top of it, nor would you try to get it clean by sprinkling chemicals and rubbing it in. For a real clean, you need hot water, agitation, and a cleaning agent, just like your laundry. For a fresh, healthy clean with no residue, call Zero Res Madison or schedule online. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
It is one of the most important business decisions you will make, selling your commercial building. It should involve making a plan to maximize your sale price through effective and responsive marketing. Your plan should also include a clear understanding of tax consequences. You need the professionals at Altus Commercial Real Estate to guide your success. Experience and responsive professionals make all the difference. Make your plan to sell. Call Altus Commercial Real Estate today at 608-338-1101. For the Love of Democracy Tour, sponsored by Chance Design Build, announces the greatest political party ever. Join the Devil's Advocates at the Barrymore Theater, Madison, Thursday, June 27th for a pre-presidential debate panel discussion featuring attorney Maggie Dawn and the Devil's Advocates at 7 p.m. Biden versus Trump, the most important presidential debate of your lifetime, to follow at 8 p.m. Admission is free. You're welcome, but bring cash for the bar and donations will be accepted at the door.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
And thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, our last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up on the lines right now, 844-967-2789.
Tom, I want to thank our most recent guest, Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire, Marquette University Law School polling. And there's much more information that Charles will share with you if you join us at the Barrymore Theater tomorrow. The Tom Castle is going to play low music like 6:45. We're going to do our panel discussion at about 7. We'll bring on Charles, the Devil's Advocates, Maggie Dawn, and then the most important presidential debate of your lifetime. 8 o'clock, we'll watch it together. I will not be drinking seltzer water, Dom. Something harder than that. So I'm going to sit through an hour and a half of Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and I intend to. So please join us. The admission is free, but you'll need beer. Pardon me. I keep saying you'll need beer. You'll need to buy beer with cash. So bring cash. 844-967-2789. A guy that always stiffs on the beers, Gary from Sussex. Welcome back.
Hey, Gary.
Hey. Yeah, good. How you doing?
Good.
Thank God you put me on hold, and it took me 45 minutes to go through the Milwaukee traffic from downtown. So you guys, otherwise I'd have hung up. I didn't have time to listen.
We kept you well entertained for the last 45 minutes, Gary. Admit it. Admit it.
It's all that infrastructure from Joe Biden, Gary.
Yeah, well, I listened to Bill. I thought you guys disliked Trump. Boy, this guy he wins the top award for hating Trump.
With age comes wisdom, Gary, in some cases.
Yeah. He calls me part of the religious cult and slash, he didn't say this, is deplorable, but that I wear that as an honor. I have a T-shirt that says, a picture of Hillary on it, says deplorables, you know. And but the thing is, one thing he did fail to talk about, young black voters. Young black voters are coming out of the woodwork to go out there and vote for him.
I don't believe it. I don't
for
believe
Trump.
Well,
I'll take an over/under of 5%, Gary, for Trump.
Listen, you got to go listen to.
No, hang on, Gary.
No,
Gary.
Listen.
Gary. Let's say 5%. We're talking about young black voters, right? The young black voters. That's what you're saying. 5%. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah.
More than 5?
I think that they're voting for me. No, it's 20%.
You think 20% of young black voters are going to vote?
I
for
want what
Trump?
You're smoking, Gary.
Okay, man. Well, we got it. We got it on the books. We got it on the books. 20% versus 5%.
I listen to the truth. This is the black radio station, and I'm telling you, they talk about Trump, and they're going to give Trump a chance. They say, let's try it. Let's give him a chance. You know,
who's saying that? Sherwin?
No, Tory Lowe is really going crazy with it. And I called him up. I talked to him. I said, hey, I'm really surprised. And he says, look, the Democrats haven't done anything for us. Why not give Trump another chance? Because we were better under Trump than we were under Biden.
In what way,
Gary, you might be the only one listening to the truth. I've just got to tell you.
I mean, I'm sure that they can say that. I'm not clear, like, on what statistic, what number, what are you talking about that the young black Americans would be better under Trump under Joe Biden? I mean, can you name one statistic that would back that up?
Yeah, jobs.
Jobs, like employment. So black unemployment was higher or lower under Trump versus Biden, Gary?
It was unemployment was less under Trump.
Factually incorrect.
No, that's
less.
Well, that's
sorry, I got to fact check you, Gary.
Hey, hang on. I got to ask you real quick, Gary, if I may. And we have other callers, but I want to go quickly. Bill Press had an interview with Rick Wilson, conservatives. Lots of conservatives voting against Trump. What they're trying to do, what Rick Wilson was saying he's trying to do is talk to folks like you and try to convert you back into being true to the philosophy that you claim you hold, Gary. Rule of law, personal responsibility, fiscal responsibility, personal integrity. Do you hold those values, Gary? And who do you think between Trump and Biden holds those values closest to you?
I think we have two terribly flawed candidates. We have two. The thing is, the Democrats hate Trump. That's why they support Biden. The thing is, we love Trump, and that's why we support him.
Is it his love of the rule of law, his personal responsibility? Is it his fiscal responsibility, his personal integrity? What do you love about him, man?
I don't care. We literally beat the guy because people hated Trump enough. He is the turnout machine. He turns them out for his team, and he turns them out for the other team. But as the case may be, Gary, he turned out 81 million for the other guy. 844-967-2789. Don from Milwaukee. I wanted to leave you some time, Don. Moving on from Gary.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks a lot, fellas. First of all, I don't hate Trump. I hate what he stands for. You guys had mentioned about a drug for dementia. I want to give you a few facts on dementia. First of all, there is no drug to cure dementia.
Right.
And dementia is inherited. And Trump's father was in his 80s and died from dementia.
Yeah, Fred
and
Trump.
It runs in the family, and this man has onset dementia. If you don't believe it, listen to this guy Ham's rambles.
I don't know if it's dementia, but I certainly agree. He rambles, as does Dom. Want to thank our fine cavalcade of stars. They included Joe Walsh, Bill Press, Charles Franklin. And tomorrow on the big show, we've got Democratic Party of Wisconsin Chairman Ben Wickler. And of course, we've got a big party at the Barrymore Theater. I expect you all to be there. Won't cost you anything. We will party our asses off, watch a debate, do a great roundtable, host Charles Franklin, Maggie Dawn, and you. And on Friday, Joe Sapecki will help us nurse the hangover.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you all for listening.
All right, fellas, I'll see you in studio tomorrow.